On the day the primal realm descended into reality, every player would receive abilities from a character in the primal realm. Those who had been weak gamers in society suddenly possessed powers far beyond secular authorities, creating an upheaval. Because of money, power, and bottomless greed, the world fell into great chaos. At that time, Louis made a grave mistake by treating the game only as entertainment. As a result, when the primal realm truly descended, he was weak and ultimately killed horribly. At that moment, Louis was fortunate enough to be reborn back to the time before the primal realm descended. The primal realm was about to officially launch its server. Louis adjusted his glasses and prepared to log into the game. In just over a month, the primal realm would descend into reality. Time was limited, and he knew clearly that if he wanted to stand at the top, everything had to start now. Louis's first goal was not fame or wealth but power. When the countdown ended, Louis successfully entered the game. Seeing the scene before him rendered down to every detail, he knew he had to act immediately. Everyone wanted to level up, but no one said where to train. Amid the crowd, people chatted excitedly, but mostly only mentioned basic experiences. Louis was different. Thanks to Rebirth, he knew everything. Chi was the most mysterious and greatest power for players. It was the boundary between transcendent players and ordinary ones. Instead of wasting time on other things, Louis decided to go straight to the weapon training ground. In the Primal Realm system there were no professions, only differences in the type of weapon used. The most important thing was to choose a weapon that suited you and raise its proficiency to 100%, for that was the key to possessing Chi. The weapon training ground was a vast place, fully equipped for players to practice every kind of weapon. Louis decided to start with his favorite weapon, a broadsword. Although he didn't yet know which weapon suited him best, he was willing to try each one. After many hours of exhausting practice, an announcement rang out: broadsword proficiency had reached 100%. But Louis quickly realized that nothing special had happened. It seemed he was not suited to using the broadsword. Without hesitation, Louis switched to a longsword. Outside the training ground, two people, a man and a woman, stood chatting about the amazing experiences they just had in the primal realm. The extreme exertion of the virtual reality mode was truly thrilling. The sensations were so realistic in every detail it was hard to stop. And these were only the content for low-level players. They wondered what the higher-tier content would feel like. As they talked, they were curious about where they'd ended up. The young man quickly guessed this was the weapon trial area. Inside the vast space, only Louis was diligently training. The two tried a few weapons as well but soon grew bored. Apart from receiving notifications that weapon proficiency had increased, nothing special happened. Moreover, reaching 100% proficiency with a weapon required up to 10,000 attacks. In the end, both gave up weapon training. They thought leveling up was more important and quickly left. Meanwhile, Louis continued to remain and rigorously train with weapons. On the first day, he mastered all types of broadswords, longswords, and spears but still had not obtained Chi. On the second day, he continued with spears, hammers, shields, and other weapons. Yet the result remained unchanged. By the third day, a group of players passed by, chatting about levels. Some had reached level 20, even level 21. Louis realized that most players had already reached level 20. Meanwhile, he was not only still at level 1 but also hadn't obtained Chi. Doubt began to creep into his mind. Should he temporarily give up and go level up first? But after thinking it over, Louis decided to continue searching for Chi. He believed that to become the strongest, he absolutely had to possess it. Because Chi was the foundation of everything. Just then, the two players who had been to the training area before returned, complaining as they walked. God, the death penalty in the primal realm is too harsh. All levels got wiped. Days of grinding gone down the drain. When they stepped inside, both were stunned to find Louis still there, tirelessly training with every kind of weapon. Isn't fighting, adventuring, skill duels, or exploring secret zones much more fun? Why is he just here training weapons all the time? The two couldn't help but suspect. Perhaps this place hid some secret they hadn't discovered. The young man proposed trying to raise weapon proficiency to a higher level, but the girl shook her head. Louis has been here 3 days and still hasn't changed. Even if there is a secret, it's taking too long. She looked at the training target and continued, most players are already level 20 or above. How strong are they? How could Louis possibly compare to them? Now if we casually pick up a weapon, we could easily crack that target. He swings once and doesn't even leave a scratch. Having said that, the girl turned and left. The young man hesitated, wanting to stay and test more, but she eventually dragged him away. There's no point wasting time here, better to go level up. Level is the most important thing right now. On the 4th and 5th days, Louis mastered all 18 types of weapons and received the title Weapon Master. This title allowed him to wield all weapon types flexibly, know each one's characteristics, and use them proficiently. Even so, Louis still hadn't obtained chi. Unless the thing that truly suited him was firearms. The thought made Louis pause. Before rebirth, no one had mentioned that firearms could help a player attain chi. Perhaps previous players lacked the skill to discover it, or it's a secret only for higher tiers. Thinking this, Louis immediately went to the firearms training area. He calculated inwardly. 5 days have passed. Most players have probably reached level 30. Seeing the array of firearms displayed before him, Louis couldn't help but hesitate. So many types, if I have to train them all, the primal realm might have already descended into reality. A thought of giving up arose in his mind, but remembering what had happened in his previous life, Louis couldn't give up. Without chi, he would never become the strongest player. Then he would only repeat the old path and be killed by others as he had before rebirth. After resolving himself, Louis picked up a pistol and began to train. Gunshots rang out in succession. At the same time, his pistol proficiency increased little by little. Just then, the girl who had met him before returned to the training area to see if Louis was still there. There was no one left inside the cold weapons training area. She thought he had left long ago, but immediately after, gunshots ringing from afar piqued her curiosity. When she stepped into the firearms training area, she saw Louis's whole body bathed in pale blue light. Seeing this, the girl was stunned and couldn't believe her eyes. An announcement sounded. Pistol proficiency reached 100%. Successfully comprehended chi. Attribute, intelligence. Awakened chi power activated. Current conversion rate, 1:1. Current awakened chi power, April 5. At last, Louis had obtained chi. An unprecedented sense of security instantly arose within him. Now, the next thing to do was level up to catch up with the majority of players. Just then, Louis turned and noticed a girl standing at the doorway. Noi Tam-gi hurriedly pretended not to have seen anything. Louis only glanced at her once, then calmly walked forward. He passed by her without a word. Noi Tam-gi immediately blushed. In her mind she kept telling herself, Noi Tam-gi, what are you nervous about? Hurry and ask what just happened. But despite rehearsing it in her head, she lacked the courage to speak. In the end, she could only try to investigate the secret herself. As for Louis, his top priority was to go to the equipment shop to buy weapons. He needed a gun with sufficient ammunition. He also had to prepare a melee weapon to guard against unexpected situations. On the way, 2 young players were chatting animatedly. I heard the Primal Realm's online player count has surpassed 10 million. That fast? It's only been a few days. Can the VR hardware keep up? The first pre-order batch sold out. The second batch will probably take a few more days. Meanwhile, Louis arrived at the equipment shop. A low-grade white-quality pistol cost 500 coins. 3 boxes of standard ammo cost 300 coins. A short broadsword, white-quality low-grade, cost 200 coins. The total came to exactly 1,000 coins. Hearing that price made Louis dizzy. Good heavens, is it that expensive? Yuan is the game's currency, with a 1:1 exchange rate to real money. In other words, this simple starter kit equaled 1,000 yuan in real money. A game that doesn't give starter gear for free and instead charges 1,000 yuan certainly knows how to make money. However, the Weapon Master title Louis had just obtained was no small thing. This title allowed him to wield all weapon types flexibly and exploit each one's characteristics to the fullest. Because of this, Louis could break the previous limitation that only allowed chi to be used through the weapon type best suited to the user. After preparing his gear, he went to the Secret Zone Company. A mirror image secret zone is a special dungeon created from a player's combat data. Players can pay a fee to upload their combat image, then offer it for others to challenge. If a challenger successfully clears the secret zone, they receive all the yuan in the prize pool plus the corresponding experience. Conversely, if they fail, the challenge fee is added directly to that secret zone's prize pool. The higher the reward, the higher the secret zone's ranking on the leaderboard. Currently, the top spot belongs to the secret zone of player Lei Deng Chuan. Prize pool, 432,369 yuan. Level, 30. Guild, New Order. Second place belongs to player The Bad Guy Is Coming. Prize pool, 334,798 yuan. Level, 30. Guild, New Order. Third place belongs to player Daycare Leader. Prize pool, 241,235 yuan. Level, 30. Guild, Sanctuary. There are 2 mandatory conditions to challenge a secret zone. First, the challenger's level cannot be more than 5 levels below the mirror image's level. Second, the challenger must pay a fee equal to 10% of the secret zone's total prize pool in yuan. After learning the rules, Lu Yi calculated silently. Although he was only level 1, he possessed qi. If he could level up through combat, this place would be the best spot to grow quickly. Just then, 2 players came out looking dejected. Failed again. The difficulty of these mirror images is perverse. Not only do you earn nothing, but all the hard-earned levels from days of grinding are wiped after a loss. The other one tried to console him, that's still lucky. If you die in an ice-ruined secret zone, you not only lose levels but all your gear disappears too. They sank onto chairs, dazed. Seeing Lu Yi enter, they immediately sized him up from head to toe. Quang Zi, look. Another level 1 player challenging a mirror image. He's even using a pistol as his main weapon. Firearms are among the least used weapons in the primal realm. Quang Zi looked at Lu Yi and shook his head. He doesn't even have full equipment. Probably just a newbie coming to try it out. People like that always lose their challenge fee and quit. He's not who we're looking for. Meanwhile, Lu Yi paid no attention to the surrounding chatter. He was concentrating on choosing a suitable opponent. At that moment, a system announcement rang out. Do you want to select the mirror image of player, this world is not gentle, as your opponent? Lu Yi pondered. It seemed that to level up quickly he had to fight via mirror image secret zones. Lu Yi recalled past years. In real life, he had always feared conflict. Even entering the game, that fear had not vanished. Many stronger people had purposely teased, mocked, and made him a laughingstock. Thinking of those things, Lu Yi clenched his fist. This time, he was determined to change. He had to conquer the challenge before him and overcome the fear that had haunted him for years. A system announcement rang out. 100 yuan challenge fee deducted. Transmitting. Countdown begins. Immediately after, Lu Yi was sent to the battlefield of the mirror image secret zone named This World Is Not Gentle. The opponent's information quickly appeared. Level, 5. Weapon, saber. Equipment, newbie cloak. Lu Yi couldn't help feeling nervous. This was the first time he had proactively fought another person. His legs began to tremble. He slapped his thigh hard to steady himself. As soon as the battle began, the opponent swung the saber and charged. Startled, Lu Yi dodged instinctively and quickly pulled the trigger to counterattack. A gunshot rang out, but the opponent reacted extremely fast, and directly knocked the gun out of his hand. Fortunately, Lu Yi still had the short saber he carried. He hurriedly used it to block the next attack. An indescribable unease rose in Lu Yi's heart. He didn't understand why he still couldn't fight with everything he had. Clearly fate had given him a chance to be reborn, yet the fear from his past still bound him. With no other choice, Lu Yi decided to use the ability from the Weapon Master title. By using the short saber's conversion property, he successfully activated Qi. Instantly, confidence returned. Lu Yi unleashed a skill. Qi Vitality Burst. The short saber transformed into a beam of light and shot straight toward the opponent. Crack! The enemy's saber was cleaved in two and dissolved into points of light. Lu Yi stood motionless, his gaze firmer than ever. As expected, the Weapon Master title had helped him break his previous limitation. Although when used through the short saber its power was only about half that of the pistol, it was still enough to defeat the opponent. The victory announcement immediately appeared. Congratulations to player Lu Yi for defeating the mirror image. This world is not gentle. Received 1000 yuan. Received 1000 experience points. Immediately after, a series of level up notifications popped up. Lu Yi gritted his teeth and stared at the screen. He couldn't believe he had won. Even now his body still trembled slightly. In the mirror image secret zone hall, Kwang Zi and his teammates were still searching for a way to clear the stage. The challenge mechanics here were extremely harsh. For ordinary players, success was nearly impossible. Most who could overcome it were elite members of major guilds. Therefore, Kwang Zi had been persistently researching techniques to conquer the secret zone. While the two were still discussing, Lu Yi suddenly appeared from the teleport gate. Kwang Zi's companion immediately recognized him. When they learned Lu Yi had successfully challenged, both were stunned. A player with almost no equipment could defeat a mirror image 5 levels higher than himself. It was truly hard to believe. Kwang Zi instantly became excited. That's him. Quick, request funding from Hohua Garden. After some discussion, the two quickly secured the necessary funding. They decided to closely monitor all of Lu Yi's actions to see which mirror image he would choose next and place corresponding bets. As for Lu Yi, after that battle his level had skyrocketed. Current level, 5, experience, 0/500. His other attribute stats had also grown significantly, much stronger than before. Lu Yi continued searching for another mirror image to challenge. Kwang Zi and his companion, unable to contain their curiosity, immediately watched to see who his next opponent would be. But the moment they saw the name appear, both couldn't believe their eyes. Kwang Zi rubbed his eyes repeatedly. Surely I'm seeing this wrong, but he wasn't mistaken. The opponent Lu Yi selected was New Lei Deng Chuan. Mirror image level 10. One of the strongest and hardest to defeat mirror images among all level 10 players. Kwang Zi immediately sank to the ground, his whole body drained of strength. He couldn't understand at all why Lu Yi would choose such a tough opponent. The young man beside him clutched his head and stammered, So are we still opening the betting pool? Kwang Zi, half crying, replied, once you've made the bet you have to follow through. We have no choice but to keep it open. But absolutely do not let anyone know we're the ones running the pool. Otherwise our capital will be in big trouble. News of the match between Lu Yi and New Lei Deng Chuan quickly spread throughout the Primal Realms betting district. The crowd immediately buzzed. Everyone was curious about the person daring to challenge the strongest level 10 mirror image, one considered nearly unbeatable. Some even laughed and jeered. A level 5 newbie. All white grade gear. His weapon is just an ordinary pistol. Where does he get the confidence to challenge New Lei Deng Chuan? Meanwhile, Kwang Zi and his teammates were almost in tears. The match's betting pool had risen to 200,000 yuan. Worse, the entire sum had been bet on New Lei to win. Kwang Zi wiped his tears and bit his sleeve. He couldn't accept Lu Yi's reckless decision. But by then nothing could be changed. The betting pool was open. All that remained was to wait for the final result. Inside the mirror image duel space, level 10 New Lei Deng Chuan appeared with a saber in hand and the famous resolve skill set. Opposite him stood Lu Yi. The countdown announcement quickly sounded. The battle began. At that moment, Lu Yi suddenly drew his short saber and stabbed himself hard in the thigh. Fresh blood immediately flowed down his leg. The intense pain sharpened his nerves like never before. The fear inside him was somewhat suppressed. For Lu Yi, this was the only way to force himself to calm down. The two quickly charged into combat. The repeated clashes produced waves of powerful shock. The ground cracked. The air trembled. Their strength far exceeded that of ordinary players. Not long after, the pistol in Lu Yi's hand was knocked away once more, but this time he was no longer panicked. New Lei immediately seized the opportunity to unleash an extremely powerful saber strike. Lu Yi calmly activated his skill, covering chi. Short saber blitz. His figure flickered in and out of sight. The short saber slid close to the opponent and then suddenly counterattacked from a blind angle. Yet during the fight Lu Yi realized a truth. The opponent before him was far stronger than he had imagined, so strong that victory seemed nearly impossible. A pang of regret arose in his heart. Perhaps he had been too hasty in choosing this opponent, but that thought lasted only an instant. Louis quickly pushed it aside because he understood there was no turning back. If he continued to be controlled by fear, he would forever be weak as in his former life. He had to fight. He had to overcome himself. Lu Yi's gaze grew sharper than ever. He continuously launched fierce attacks, while dodging each of the opponent's slashes. After a roll to evade a deadly strike, Lu Yi rushed forward to pick up the dropped pistol. The real battle now truly began. Each shot, each attack forced the opponent to reel back. An announcement sounded. Lu Yi's chi had reached its maximum, once again breaking the impasse he faced. The final shot made Nu Lei's head vanish in an instant, while Lu Yi exhausted his HP and chi. After defeating Nu Lei Deng Chuan, Lu Yi received a reward of 15,768 yuan and 15,768 experience points. He also reached level 13 with significant attribute growth. After the match, a series of announcements followed and Lu Yi was given a skill-up choice. With a level 10 skill, he could choose between Vitality Recovery and Vitality Invasion. Each option had its advantages to make Lu Yi stronger in future battles. Vitality Recovery heals the target for a set amount of HP. The heal rate is 1 point of chi for every 100 HP restored. Each time the skill levels up, 1 point of chi restores an additional 10 HP. Every 10 levels, the number of people who can be healed increases by 1. Vitality Invasion causes the opponent to suffer 25 damage per second for 10 seconds, consuming 1 point of chi. Each time it levels up, each point of chi can deal an additional 10 damage. Every 10 levels, the number of targets that can be attacked increases by 1. Outside, Kwang Zi and his companion were surrounded by a crowd. These people demanded refunds because they were sure Lu Yi would lose to Nu Lei Deng Chuan. Don't think you can solve this by forcefully logging out. If you dare to escape the game, I'll use the personal information you left in Hohua Garden to find you in real life. Kwang Zi panicked, clutching his head, and asked the crowd if they would accept surrendering half the loss to reduce the damage. Someone in the crowd confidently replied that Nu Lei Deng Chuan would definitely win, so surrendering wasn't an option. Kwang Zi still couldn't understand how they could be so certain. What do you mean? Are you telling me Nu Lei will lose? If mirror image Nu Lei loses, I'll plant a banana tree to eat excrement. No sooner had he finished speaking than the victory announcement for Lu Yi rang out, freezing everyone who had bet on Nu Lei, their mouths agape. Kwang Zi stood up arrogantly, no longer cowed as before. Who was it earlier that said they'd plant a banana tree to eat excrement? Immediately after, Lu Yi exited the dual space, and the skill panel appeared before him. Scene shifts to the real world outside. Lu Yi's younger sister called him to wake up for breakfast. Today there's your favorite braised pork. Lu Yi sat at the table. His sister was busy arranging the food while he kept thinking about the two skills he'd just received. One is healing-oriented, the other offensive. He weighed the two skills. One was Vitality Recovery, which heals wounds and increases survivability. The other was Vitality Invasion, which boosts damage to opponents. 1 point of chi could increase attack power by 50. Although Vitality Invasion only dealt 25 damage per second per hit, the total accumulated damage could reach around 250. As for Vitality Recovery, after the Primal Realm manifests in reality, this skill could heal wounds and eliminate infection caused by injuries. If so, it would surely become one of the most sought-after skills in the future. Additionally, when entering high-danger corrupted secret zones, healing skills are almost indispensable. Having a healing skill would make team formation much easier. Lu Yi put down his chopsticks and decided not to eat, which surprised his sister greatly, because on ordinary days he could easily eat 3 times that amount. Seeing this, his sister immediately began making plans to find herself a sister-in-law. In her view, letting her brother sit idle and overthink was simply too dangerous. At the same time, back with Kwang Zi, a man in the crowd clung to his leg crying, begging for half his money back. It was his entire fortune. If he lost it he wouldn't be able to continue living. Kwang Zi sneered, about to shake the man off. If you'd accepted surrendering half earlier you might still be in profit now. But what did you choose? Before Kwang Zi could finish speaking he was suddenly punched straight in the face. Mirror image Nu Lei level 10 has been dealt with. How are you going to compensate us? Ga Quan, the person in charge of the mirror image space for the New Order Guild, also appeared to quell the chaos. Kwang Zi explained fearfully, Lu Yi is not one of ours. We only opened a single betting pool, we had no idea he would choose to challenge mirror image Nu Lei. Jie Quan was furious. In his eyes, the one who profited most from the incident was Kwang Zi. Even if Kwang Zi tried to shirk responsibility, they should settle the matter clearly in the real world. Kwang Zi begged for mercy in terror, even offering to hand over all the money he had earned to Jie Quan. But Jie Quan shook his head. I don't need money. A dangerously amused smile appeared on his face. I just need you to do a few small tasks for me. You can do that, right? Meanwhile, Louis had returned to the game. Without hesitation, he chose the vitality recovery skill. The overall combat rating increased by 10 points. When the system checked player data, Lu Yi's combat power had surpassed the 10 mark. The combat power system officially unlocked. After calculations completed, Lu Yi's combat power reached 15.6 and he received the title Low-Rank Warrior. The Low-Rank Warrior title granted a 1-point global attribute augmentation. Lu Yi had assumed he needed a stat exceeding 100 to earn such a reward. Unexpectedly, upon gaining the Low-Rank Warrior title he directly received the 1-point global attribute boost, effectively increasing all his personal stats. Although only level 13, Lu Yi's effective stats were now equivalent to those of a level 26 player. Thinking that, he opened the leaderboard. In 6th place with prize money of 152,475 yuan sat Nu Lei Deng Chuan, a level 20 player. Lu Yi wondered whether, with his current strength, he could face that opponent. This was certainly no small challenge, but it was also a good opportunity to test his power after recent leaps in progress. Without hesitation, Lu Yi decided to choose Nu Lei Deng Chuan as his next opponent, treating it as a real test of strength. In the Primal Realm chat window, people buzzed about Lu Yi's unbelievable victory over the level 10 mirror image Nu Lei. The scene made many doubt their own eyes. No one expected a player who had been only level 5 like Lu Yi to pull off such a feat. Some had placed huge bets on Nu Lei and now could only leave in disappointment, empty-handed. When the next match opened between level 13 Lu Yi and level 20 Nu Lei Deng Chuan, everyone was curious to know who was behind the decision. Someone in the group revealed it was the person in charge of the mirror image space for the New Order Guild. Moreover, that person had bet as much as 300,000 yuan on Lu Yi's victory. Hearing that, everyone began awaiting the result, eager for the upcoming battle. At the entrance to the mirror image space, Kwang Zi and his companion were also anxiously uneasy. Kwang Zi, Jie Quan only told you to promote, not to place bets. Why did you bet, and put everything on him? Despite some inner fear, Kwang Zi remained confident that Lu Yi would win. He reasoned that if Jie Quan truly wanted to deal with him, he couldn't risk affecting his own standing in the New Order Guild over this matter, so there was nothing to worry about. Kwang Zi clearly understood that Jie Quan's purpose was to promote and get everyone to pour their bets onto Lu Yi. Even so, he knew this wasn't necessarily a good thing. Inside the duel space, the countdown had begun. When the match officially kicked off, Nu Lei Deng Chuan appeared handsome and imposing. He wore upgraded light armor and wielded a pair of sharp twin blades, clearly exuding the aura of an extremely powerful opponent. Opposite him, Lu Yi only had a short knife, a pistol, and beginner gear. In terms of equipment and combat experience, he was clearly at a disadvantage. However, Lu Yi had carefully calculated the amount of chi he possessed. He knew that if he seized a chance to land a decisive blow, victory could still be his. The moment the match began, Lu Yi immediately fired, aiming straight for his opponent's head. But Nu Lei Deng Chuan reacted extremely quickly. He timely parried and immediately launched a counterattack with powerful slashes. The successive gunshots made the atmosphere unbearably tense. Lu Yi clearly felt his strength increasing. He knew he was no longer suppressed as before. Confidence surged within him, believing he was much stronger than he had been. Suddenly, Nu Lei spoke. A level 1 player like you dares to lay hands on me. Lu Yi suddenly felt fear and stepped back. That feeling made him panic, as if facing an enemy from his past. His legs began to tremble uncontrollably. Lu Yi wondered whether he still had the courage to keep fighting. But after that moment of confusion, he realized that if he didn't dare to advance, he would never grow. Thinking that, Lu Yi immediately acted. He quickly closed the distance and attacked his opponent. He nimbly dodged Nu Lei Deng Chuan's strikes. Then he moved around behind him and clamped his arm around his neck. He raised his gun to the back of his head and said, "I've grown up." Bang! The final shot ended the fight. Level 20 New Lei Deng Chuan was eliminated. This time, Lu Yi received 152,478 yuan and 152,478 experience points. Immediately afterwards a series of upgrade notifications rang out. The system also announced that at level 20, the Vitality skill would unlock a new level 20 skill branch. Lu Yi left the duel area. Stepping outside, he could affirm that he had not only matured but also surpassed most other players. In the betting activity room, countless players were screaming over Lu Yi's outstanding performance. Unbelievable. He's our lucky god from now on. We should build an altar to him. Alongside them, many young men clutched their heads and cried, just now they hadn't bet on Lu Yi. Now they didn't even have a single coin left to bet. At this point, Kwang Zi's companion finally realized Jie Quan's true intent. He had deliberately arranged everything to convince everyone to dump their bets onto Lu Yi. After defeating level 20 New Lei Deng Chuan, Lu Yi would very likely reach level 22 or 23, giving him a chance to challenge the level 30 mirror image. A fight with the level 30 mirror image would certainly be extremely difficult. But if he won, the rewards would be extraordinarily rich. Kwang Zi felt puzzled again. But how can Jie Quan be sure that level 30 New Lei will beat Lu Yi? If one thought that way, Lu Yi's next challenge against level 30 New Lei would be extremely dangerous. Sure enough, things unfolded exactly as Jie Quan had predicted. Lu Yi chose to challenge the level 30 mirror image New Lei. He felt he had not only matured but also gotten a few steps ahead of others. If previous battles weren't enough to prove it, he would use this fight to showcase his talent, challenging the level 30 mirror image. An existence known as the unrivaled world champion. Any who dares challenge is knocked back to zero. The title Unrivaled World Champion is not earned lightly. It said the New Order Guild even listed this mirror image among the world clearance level challenges. Meanwhile, Lu Yi confirmed the start of the battle. Outside, Jie Quan wore a smug smile. He immediately opened a new betting table to keep making money. Kwang Zi was drawn in as well, but he placed a bet on Lu Yi, causing his companion to clutch his head in despair. Why did you bet again? This is clearly a trap. On the battlefield, the level 30 New Lei stood with an imposing blade and armor. Lu Yi, meanwhile, wore ordinary clothes and beginner gear. As the challenge began, New Lei launched an attack so fast Lu Yi couldn't react, causing his health bar to plummet. He quickly regained his composure, and recovered his strength. As soon as he pushed New Lei back, Lu Yi opened fire with continuous shots. New Lei dodged them all, then nimbly surged forward, swinging a sharp blade. Lu Yi crossed his arms to block, but his recovery rate couldn't keep up with the damage he took. He was knocked backward. Lu Yi braced himself and rolled on the ground to avoid the next slash. He jumped far back to widen the distance, his mind racing for a counter. Level 30 was indeed different. Even with his rod strengthened, he was completely suppressed. But if New Lei's power was only that, he would surely win. Lu Yi learned a new skill, Bamboo Blessing, which boosts the target's attributes and randomly removes one abnormal status from the target for 1 minute. If he couldn't match levels, he'd use all his attributes to compensate. Spending 400 conscious force, all attributes were increased by 200 points for 1 minute. Lu Yi radiated a completely different power. His gaze was like a hungry tiger, lunging straight at New Lei. In this minute I must take him down. It's not without reason that New Lei, a level 30 player, is called the champion. He had reached the pinnacle of level 30 players. No one below that rank could defeat him. If someone could actually do it, they would at least possess the strongest potential and champion-level physique. Back to the fight. New Lei continued to dodge each bullet, but this time, he couldn't dodge the final bullet. After being hit by a bullet squarely in the chest, New Lei had no strength left to resist, and took several more shots in succession, leaving his body riddled with holes like a honeycomb. He gritted his teeth in fury. Suddenly, his whole body recovered as if he had never been wounded. Lu Yi finally understood why no one could beat him. Not only did he have stats far beyond his peers, but when near death he had a passive skill granting immunity to fatal blows. Who could possibly beat him? Unless one's absolute power utterly crushed him, there was almost no chance of victory. the two sides returned to their original states. But now it came down to whether Bamboo Blessing's duration on Lu Yi would expire first or Nu Lei's immunity to death would run out first. He raised his gun and fired continuously. The countdown for Bamboo Blessing had only 30 seconds left. Lu Yi could not lose, not for the rewards, but to overcome his former life self. He wanted to say goodbye to the insecure, fate-defeated person he once was and become stronger each day. In the final seconds, a bullet lodged squarely in Nu Lei's head. It seemed to be his weak spot, and in an instant he collapsed to the ground. At that moment, Lu Yi remembered hearing in his past life about the strongest potential and champion aptitude. Those two things had nothing to do with him. Back then he always thought that people who possessed those things and he were from completely different worlds. He's here, and we're over here. But now, Lu Yi no longer thought that way. When the challenge ended, he gained over 400,000 experience points and a huge sum of currency. His combat power increased significantly. Ga Quan squeezed the Coca-Cola cup in his hand, unable to believe his eyes. Suddenly his gaze moved up, then down again, full of calculation. His face quickly returned to calm, but beneath it hid an unpredictable danger. Meanwhile, Kwang Zi scored a big win. He greatly admired his own eye for people. The young man with him hurriedly pulled Kwang Zi out of the game and they packed up to avoid anyone coming to demand money. At Lu Yi's real-world residence, his sister's voice called out, "Are you hungry? Do you want me to cook you a bowl of noodles?" Lu Yi was in a much better mood today. "No, I'll take you out for barbecue." His sister was half convinced, half skeptical that her brother had made money from the game, but being able to eat barbecue after days of instant noodles, she quickly got on board. Today, Lu Yi went to the Cam San sale marketplace to look for items, but the goods wouldn't arrive for another 2 months. Meanwhile, the primal realm would descend into reality in 24 days. He couldn't wait. Stores on the street were also out of stock. Could fate have decreed that he could not become a star healer? If so, then he had no choice but to try even harder. At the same time, Lu Yuan's sister and her close friend Huang Nian-so were strolling the streets. The two girls attracted countless glances around them, making many people think they were models filming a shoot. Nian-so was curious why Lu Yuan had asked her out today. Meanwhile, Lu Yuan was headaches thinking about how to introduce his close friend to his brother. Nian-so had both looks and background, and her character was far better than his by many times. Thinking of this, Lu Yuan unconsciously smiled foolishly. "It's nothing, I just missed you and wanted to take a walk together. Have you been busy lately? Haven't seen you active in the group for a while." While probing, Lu Yuan silently prayed that Nian-so still didn't have a boyfriend. She must be reserved for Lu Yi. Hearing this, Nian-so sighed. "I'm really annoyed." "Why?" "My family forced me to go play online games." Lu Yuan was stunned, unsure whether he should continue trying to matchmake his brother. Meanwhile, at the Sing for Each Other karaoke, Ga Kwa in real life was furious. He vented all his anger on the girl next to him. "Do you think I need your consolation? Who the hell are you to pity me?" As he spoke, he kicked the girl hard. The onlookers were furious, but no one dared intervene. Even a word would get them yelled at. "What are those servers babbling about?" Hearing that, the guys immediately turned and fled. After venting, Ga Kwa breathed a sigh of relief. Just then, his phone rang. As soon as he picked up, he asked immediately, "Have you traced the address yet?" Unexpectedly, after a few words the other side set him off again. "Not yet." "Damn it, you took the money and can't do the job." The person on the line hurriedly lowered their voice. "Please let me finish." After they explained, Ga Kwa asked again, "Are you sure your method can find his address?" "Absolutely no problem." Hearing this, Ga Kwa agreed at once. "Just find Lu Yi's real-life identity, I won't spare a single cent." Meanwhile, Lu Yi entered the mirror statue's secret realm. The highest scene currently only reached level 30. At his current level, there were no more statues for him to challenge. To continue leveling, Lu Yi could only go through the Ice Ruin secret realm. Walking, he suddenly remembered his gear was all trash. He at least needed to upgrade a bit to look presentable. Lu Yi went to the equipment vendor and crafting area. The lowest price had already risen to 5,000 yuan. Seeing that price, he just stared blankly and quietly left. Lu Yi now clearly understood the drawback of leveling in the mirror statue's secret realm, which was that you couldn't obtain secret realm essence to craft equipment. If you went through the Ice Ruin secret realm and reached level 28, the amount of Secret Realm essence gathered would be enough to craft a level 20 blue quality gear set. Although he had enough money to buy a level 20 set, Louis wasn't wealthy. Besides, he needed money to cover real-life expenses. For now, he should find a party to level with in the Ice Ruin Secret Realm. At the plaza, countless players were looking for teammates. Someone said 3 guilds from the Order faction had challenged the Chaos Zone level 40 at 10-player difficulty and failed. The whole team lost levels and their gear was wiped. In an instant, they were knocked from a top team in the Primal Realm back to square one. It was truly disastrous. Others heard the reason was that a team member achieved the Absolute Realm achievement and then slaughtered the entire team. After all, the rewards from that achievement were 10 times the usual. Who wouldn't be tempted? Team formats in the Primal Realm include 5-player, 10-player, 20-player, and even unlimited modes. Once you enter an Ice Ruin Secret Realm there are only 2 outcomes, win and return, or die. And death in the Primal Realm means being sent back to the starting line. Therefore, choosing teammates and the difficulty of each Ice Ruin Secret Realm are considered extremely carefully. With his current strength, Louis fully qualified to join a level 30 Secret Realm in the 10-player format. But to be safer, he planned to drop 1 tier, finding a team to clear a level 25 Secret Realm in 10-player mode or a level 30 Secret Realm in 5-player mode. Unexpectedly, Louis was rejected wherever he went. If not for their requirement of level 30, it was because his gear was too poor. The most ridiculous reason Louis had ever heard was that the team didn't accept outsiders, only people of the same bloodline. After being rejected for half a day, Louis held his head in frustration. I already defeated the Mirror Statue Master Nu Lei at level 30. Don't judge me solely by my gear and level. He sighed wearily. Could it be that he really had to start from the lowest secret realms, earn some gear, and only then qualify for higher realms? Just as Louis accepted reality, someone proactively approached to invite him. Our team is missing one person right now, do you want to join? Ga Qua put on a friendly expression and actively invited Louis to join a 10-player group entering the level 35 danger zone. For some reason, Louis felt this person looked very familiar, but he couldn't place where they'd met. Seeing him standing dazed, Ga Qua pretended to turn his face away. Don't want to? Then I'll find someone else. No, I agree. Louis scratched his head and quickly followed him. The level 35 danger zone with 10-player difficulty has its entrance outside the Void Tomb City, among the Void Tomb Mountains. Players of ordinary means can only walk there. Those with enough money can teleport directly via the Secret Realm Ice Ruin Gate. Like Louis's current team. The team members showed obvious displeasure when they saw Ga Qua had found him. You were told to find anyone random. How did you end up with a newbie? And he's using a firearm. Louis's eyes were dazzled by their full sets of gear glowing purple. That meant at least half of their equipment was rare A-tier gear. He badly wanted to possess such good gear himself. A young man leading the group spoke up, "We're full, let's go. Today I want to push to level 40. At that moment, a bald guy ran over, threw an arm over his shoulder, and chuckled. If we reach level 40 won't you replace this gear? Give me a few pieces. The leader laughed. Fine. Give me your offhand weapon, and you can choose 3 pieces from my gear. The group walked on laughing and chatting. Only Louis, the only poor kid in the team, trailed quietly behind. Each of them wore sly smiles. Inside the secret realm the task was a defense mission. Ga Qua immediately signaled everyone to gather around the protective crystal to form the formation. If anyone lets a monster reach the crystal alive, reducing the completion rate, that person must personally pay for the losses. Everyone answered in unison, understood. Louis silently observed and assessed the situation. The teleport gate behind was slowly closing. Their mission was to defend 3 dark energy water crystals, keeping their integrity at 100%. If integrity dropped to 0%, the mission would fail immediately. At that moment, Louis's keen ears twitched. He heard strange noises from afar. The monsters were coming. Louis looked up toward the horizon shrouded in dust. From the dust clouds, swarms of giant, ferocious insects charged forward, quickly surrounding the defense area. The bald guy sneered, looked at Louis, and said, "Newbie, stand closer to the crystal. Be careful or a monster might kill you." He hefted his massive double axe, shouted, and charged forward, cutting down 3 monsters in front of him. The others also took down many monsters, even coordinating so smoothly it showed they'd teamed up for a long time. Very quickly countless monsters were slain with ease. Watching this, Louis inwardly admired them. They truly were a strong team. During the fight, Ga glanced at the redhead, and quietly made a signal. The redhead immediately caught the meaning, intentionally letting one monster slip by, so it charged straight toward Louis. Louis was still intently observing and analyzing the team. Although they coordinated well, their individual strength was only that of ordinary players. As the monster charged, he drew his blade, and one clean slash dispatched the foe, preventing it from reaching the protective crystal. The first wave of attacks ended. The second wave would begin in 10 minutes. All the monsters were teleported away. The team immediately gathered and began praising Louis generously. "I didn't expect you to be such a master. Wearing newbie gear and still handling monsters over 10 levels above you." The redhead pretended to clutch his face and lamented. "If it weren't for little Jen suddenly disappearing and creating a gap in our defenses, I wouldn't have been bested like that." The bald guy chimed in at once. "How about letting Louis defend with us? That way there won't be any gaps and the mission will surely succeed." Someone even proactively suggested, "Why don't you join our team? What do you think, brother? You join our team, and you won't need to spend time finding groups for secret realms anymore. Once everyone coordinates better, we can challenge higher-level secret realms together." Hearing this, Louis looked pleased. The underlings immediately turned to look at Ga, waiting for him to speak. Ga put on a saintly look. "All right. But if you want to join our team you must provide your real phone number and address for contact. This is also to avoid incidents like what happened with little Jen." He sighed regretfully. "It was hard for us to cultivate our gear and team coordination. In the end little Jen suddenly vanished, creating a vulnerability for the whole team. If you want to join, please understand our position." Louis fell into deep thought. Seeing this, the others glanced at each other and laughed coldly. In their eyes, Louis was about to walk into a prearranged trap. Unexpectedly, Louis calmly spoke up, "Is this the real reason you invited me to the team?" The whole group froze. Louis continued, "There are so many people in the square, yet you chose only me. After entering the secret realm, you repeatedly displayed brotherly camaraderie and your strength to make me admire you. Then you deliberately revealed that the team was short a member. Next you released a monster for me to show my skills. Finally, you conveniently invited me to join the team. From there, you could easily trick me into giving my real information." Louis smiled faintly. What a clever plan, so full of humanity. The group's faces immediately turned ugly. At that moment, Louis finally remembered Ga identity. He was the person in charge of the spatial statue in the New Order Guild. Previously, Louis had heard other players say that a player who defeated the level 20 mirror statue New Lei was later tricked by Ga into giving their real address. In real life, that person was taken to work at a theater and has not been released to this day. This time, Louis had defeated New Lei at level 30. No wonder he caught Ga's eye. That was why Ga had gone to the trouble of staging this show of brotherly honor to obtain Louis's real-world address. The others exchanged glances and silently prepared to strike. But Ga still tried to control his emotions and feigned innocence as he asked, "Why? Have you misunderstood something?" Louis drew his gun. He had no interest in continuing the performance with him. "I misunderstood nothing. I only pretended to follow you into the secret realm to see what you actually intended. But now that I know the real purpose, I have no interest in playing along further." Louis looked coldly at the group before him. "Because you are enemies. And enemies must be dealt with immediately." This time, Ga no longer pretended to be innocent. He strode angrily toward Louis, eyes wide, an overwhelming aura bursting forth. The henchmen closed in all at once. "You expect to take on 9 of us by yourself?" The big guy with the blade was the first to charge. Louis remained standing in place. He expended 30 points of awareness energy. Instantly, the big guy spat a mouthful of blood and was blasted far away. The 8 others went pale at once. In that moment, everything seemed to happen in slow motion. How can this be? All in the blink of an eye. From the big guy's corpse, a blue loot pearl slowly appeared. The blue gem emerged gradually. This item appears only after killing a player. It can randomly extract one piece of equipment from the opponent. Louis happened to be short on equipment. There were 9 loot pearls before him waiting to be collected. How could he miss that opportunity? Ga gritted his teeth and immediately ordered, "Everyone charge." The group rushed forward intending to gang up on Louis. Louis also wanted to end the fight quickly. He decided to activate the bamboo blessing full attribute state. Actually, if he could choose, Louis did not want to kill any player. In this era, that would be tantamount to robbing them of any chance of survival in the coming apocalypse. But for now he had no other choice. If his sister, Lu Yun, didn't awaken player powers, his current strength still wouldn't be enough to protect her. Therefore, Louis could not afford to make mistakes. Besides fighting for every chance to grow stronger by the minute, he had to crush any enemy who could kill him while they were still at their weakest. That Ga had been acting arrogantly for a long time. In real life he had powerful backing. In the game he was a top-tier player. But so what? Louis would step on his corpse, and those of his cronies to reach the top. Now Ga stared blankly at his henchmen who had been sent out of the secret realm. He couldn't understand what was wrong. In rank and gear they all far exceeded Louis, yet they were completely unable to resist him. He gritted his teeth and threatened coldly, "Your strength is indeed not bad. No wonder you could defeat the level 30 mirror statue Nu Lei. But you should think carefully. If we suffer more losses, this secret realm won't be conquerable. When that happens, no one will have a good outcome." Louis had planned everything in advance. If he failed, he could always return to the mirror statue's secret realm to grind levels. At worst he'd lose a day. But Ga's group was different. During that time, they absolutely could not defeat the mirror statue. Ga resorted to his old trick, threatening to mobilize friends everywhere to blockade Louis from entering the mirror statue's secret realm. Hearing that, Louis just laughed. Immediately after, a bullet pierced through the head of the man standing next to Ga. He froze where he stood. The bald man panicked and turned to run, but as soon as he turned he fell into Louis's sights. Bang! He collapsed. 2 more men were quickly eliminated in succession. Ga unconsciously recalled the mission his superiors had once given him. By all means he must maintain his faction's advantage in the primal realm. As long as he did that, he'd receive support for anything he wanted. But once that advantage disappeared, his superiors would not only withdraw all support but also punish him for all his past mistakes. Now, only Ga remained in the entire secret realm, alongside Louis. Suddenly, Ga dropped to his knees. "No. Please don't kill me." Louis frowned slightly. Seeing this, Ga immediately offered terms to bargain. "If you spare me, I'll tell you a top-level secret related to the primal realm." The corner of Louis's mouth twitched. "Oh. Go on, tell me." Ga shook his head. "No. You must agree first." No sooner had he finished speaking than Louis sent him back to square one. If he didn't want to talk, fine. Louis wasn't interested in knowing anyway. What surprised Louis was that Ga hadn't completely disappeared. He struggled to crawl back up. Louis was slightly surprised. Clearly the opponent still had some sort of life-saving card. But at that moment, the 10-minute preparation time was nearly over. The second wave of attacks was about to begin. Ga kept babbling. He guessed that Louis knew part of the primal realm's secret. Otherwise he couldn't have grown so strong so quickly. "I won't fight you. But I can report you to my superiors. By then, you'll become the target of countless forces." He continued to persuade. "Moreover, if you fail to clear this secret realm, you could be knocked back to level 1. Facing forces dozens of times stronger than us, your chance to grow back is almost 0. If that happens, the secrets and advantages you hold will mean nothing. Spare me. I'll tell you everything I know. Then we cooperate. With your strength, plus my experience and the large supply of healing items I've prepared, we still have a chance to clear this secret realm." Ga spoke until his throat was dry. But Louis paid him no mind. Who said he would die? Seeing Louis so calm, Ga thought the man had truly gone mad. No decent gear. Only level 28. Even stronger than ordinary people, he still couldn't solo this level of secret realm. Louis merely shrugged. "Then stand there and watch me clear it." if you can still be alive by then. Ga froze, completely not understanding what he was saying. Lu-yi wasn't worried about gear because those people had left him a pile of blue loot pearls. That was the greatest gift. Excited, Lu-yi began opening each pearl to extract equipment. He wondered how good the items from those 8 unlucky lives would be. After a while, Lu-yi emerged in a completely new black outfit. From the midst of the choking dust he walked out slowly. His face was serious. His gaze cold. His aura was completely changed. Beneath the tight clothing, Lu-yi's arms revealed solid muscles. The system quickly updated attributes: defense plus 20, resistance plus 5, speed plus 12, constitution plus 13, intelligence plus 15, equipment level requirement minus 5. The system continued to display information about his coat. Special Ops Rapid Suit attributes: defense, resistance, strength, speed, and constitution all receive bonus points. Next were the gloves Lu-yi had put on. Light Special Ops Gloves attributes: defense, resistance, perception and constitution receive bonus points. A new pair of boots appeared on his feet. Rapid Special Ops Boots attributes: defense, resistance, speed and perception gain between 5 and 20 points. Finally, the Ho Kwong Blade, a sharp, slim-bladed saber. Attack plus 160, strength plus 20, grants the skill weight reduction, equipment requirement minus 5 levels. The system began reporting the player's current stats. Lu-yi level, 28 experience. Attributes include attack, defense, resistance, strength, speed, constitution, intelligence and perception. Attribute points available, 0, awareness energy, 354/564. The system added, current combat power, 46. After the system finished announcing, Lu-yi held the blade and smiled at his opponent. Thanks for your generosity. He raised an eyebrow and continued, with this set, my power has at least tripled. But that also indirectly proves how pathetic you all are. Amid the dusty desert air, Lu-yi finished, holding such good gear and still can't beat me. Gaca's eyes widened. He was utterly stunned by the sudden change. But in a moment he regained himself, clenched his teeth, and glared viciously at Lu-yi. He immediately shouted, no. Even so, you can't clear this secret realm alone. Impossible. At that moment, the monsters in the secret realm surged toward them. A lead creature quickly leapt at Tui-tin with its mouth wide open. Whoosh! Lu-yi swung his blade horizontally, easily slicing the monster into pieces. The young man smiled faintly, his face beaming. The monsters behind charged straight toward him one after another. With just a few light blade strokes, they were all sliced to pieces. He rested the blade on his shoulder and looked at it with admiring eyes. Lu-yi thought happily to himself, now that I have this blade, dealing with these pests won't even require awareness energy anymore. The remaining monsters continued to rush forward, forming a ring around him. The blade kept sweeping, cutting them neatly like mowing grass. The corpses of the monsters fell in a circle, leaving Lu-yi and Tui-tin standing at the center. Lu-yi swung a few more slashes. Before long, their bodies piled into a small mound. Lu-yi's HP bar had drained, but the item set he wore began to emit a faint green light. In an instant his HP was fully restored. On the other side, Gaca was struggling to fight the incoming monsters with his bare hands. He fought while yelling at Lu-yi, you do have fast healing items, but how many do you have? I'll definitely outlast you. Gaca watched Lu-yi cutting through monsters smoothly and shouted again, I'm here to watch you be arrogant until you die. At that moment, Lu-yi kicked one of the flying monsters away that was heading straight at him. Hearing the commotion below, he smirked, turned to taunt with a remark, then resumed swinging his blade and killing. Gaca ground his teeth in anger, you. Suddenly, a golden object flew straight at him. Gaca hastily raised his hand to block, but realized it was just a monster knocked toward him, so he couldn't continue provoking Lu-yi. Lu-yi's HP kept draining and then refilling. Each time his HP dropped, the item set quickly healed him. As he continuously swung the blade, the healing cycle repeated over and over without pausing for even a second. As time passed, the corpses of the dungeon monsters gradually piled into heaps. Gaca looked at the scene and muttered, how can this be? How could you have so many healing items? Unbelievable. At that moment, a monster lunged and bit his arm, driving his HP to 0. Still in a daze he thought, the number of items you use must exceed what a player can normally carry. He hurriedly opened the item panel to check, but the slots were all empty. GACA was stunned. I'm out of HP. He bulged his eyes and frantically shouted for potions, but it was too late. The other monsters also surged in. Gradually, more monsters attacked him, biting his arms, legs, and shoulders as he thrashed in despair. GACA fought back while shouting, "No, no." He began to realize the disadvantageous situation, glanced at Liu, and grit his teeth. I won't accept this. Seeing the young man still focused on slashing, he roared, I'll wait for you outside when you die. I'll make you pay. Liu merely gave a cold chuckle and no longer paid him any mind. GACA's HP was now completely depleted and his body began to dissolve. The system announced just in time, team check, 1 member remaining, perfect realm condition met, secret realm cleared successfully, reward X10. Inside the secret realm it did not go dark but remained the same yellow, with dust and smoke still lingering. Amid the fine dust, Liu collapsed down onto the ground, leaning back against the pile of monster corpses to rest, waiting for the system to process the remains. He exhaled heavily, thinking, it's finally over, I'm exhausted. After resting a while, Liu turned to look at the remnants being swept away by the system and thought, good thing I cleared them in one go. Otherwise, with so many bodies, Tui Tin wouldn't know how to handle it. At that moment, a golden pearl appeared. It was a golden loot pearl. The system continued to introduce, golden loot pearls can pull out any 3 pieces of equipment from an opponent or 3 items from their bag. Liu slowly stood up. The monster corpses around him turned into streaks of blue light and gradually vanished into nothingness. He smiled faintly, golden loot pearl. The person in charge of the secret realm space finally did something decent. The pearl flew in front of him, shrunk down and rested snugly in his palm. Liu pondered for a moment. The system now displayed, awareness energy, 5/564. He rubbed his eyes and thought, not much awareness energy left. Resting about 10 minutes will at best recover half. With that amount, it's uncertain if I could withstand the final wave. He continued weighing his options. I was a bit hasty. I should have burst at the final moment, not during a rest. Now I can only pin my hopes on GACA's golden loot pearl. Hopefully it will yield useful equipment. The pearl in his hand emitted wavering golden beams. Liu commanded, Pearl, open. The system immediately announced, choice, equipment or items. Liu paused to think, to be fair, my strength, speed, and constitution are all near 100. If a piece that boosts these 3 stats appears and pushes me past 100, my power would leap qualitatively. Then he selected equipment. The system complied. The pearl opened, the process completed, yielding the following items. A round earring with a deep pink gem inside. The system introduced, all-purpose earring, right, attributes, strength +10, speed +10, perception +5. Equip requirement, level 30-5. Immediately after, another earring appeared. This was also an all-purpose earring, but for the left ear. Attributes, constitution +10, intelligence +10, perception +5. Equip requirement, level 30-5. After introducing the 2 earrings, the system announced the combo effect, all-purpose earrings, 2 halves all attribute bonuses +10. Next came a copper-colored gun. It was a pistol. Attack +200, intelligence +30. Skill, judgment, has a chance to deal damage or stun equal to 3 times attack. Equip requirement, level 30-5. The pistol's ammo loads automatically, 1 round per load, ammo count, 1/1. Liu held the items he'd just drawn, unable to hide his bewilderment. He stammered, am I dreaming? Not only attribute gear, but even a faded weapon appeared. After his excitement passed, Liu silently studied the pistol's description, muttering, but this autoloading mechanism, only 1 round per minute? Not thinking long, he immediately told himself, whatever, equip it first, decide later. Having said that, he commanded, equip. The system quickly configured it. The player panel appeared, Liu at the center, all new gear now worn. Around him, the item slots were more than half filled. The system checked and promptly updated his attributes. Strength, speed, constitution, and many other stats increased. The attack, defense, resistance, strength, speed, constitution, intelligence and perception stats displayed in turn. Attribute points available, 0, HP is full. Awareness energy, 155/714. After fully equipping, Louis excitedly shouted, "So cool." Except for perception and intelligence, the three main stats have all surpassed 100. This truly is another qualitative leap in power. He rubbed his chin, hesitated. Should I offer a little thanks? Having said that, he bowed at a 45-degree angle and said, "I'd like to express my thanks to the members of GACA's team for gifting me these items." Then he smirked and looked ahead, his gaze growing resolute. Before him lay a vast, arid desert. Louis thought to himself that the only thing left missing was his level. Once he clears this secret realm, he can catch up with most players. Meanwhile, in Mu-Su City, a smog-choked metropolis of towering skyscrapers. At the player's large respawn point, a figure gradually materialized in streaks of blue light. It was GACA. He kept bowing before the green system screen and replied respectfully, "Yes, sir, guild leader." "I'm certain he has a secret that lets a player leap in power." Staring at the blurry silhouette on the screen, GACA continued, "Otherwise I couldn't have been killed by him." He took a step back and added, "If you don't believe me, at least believe the difficulty of the primal realm. He's only a level 28 player, yet he dared to challenge a 10-player level 35 secret realm alone and nearly succeeded. Who else could do that?" The person on the other end pondered for a moment, then said, "Fine. Give you another chance. Restore the transcendent level to me. As for that player, you needn't worry. I'll send someone to contact him." GACA bowed deeply before the now blank screen. "Thank you, guild leader, thank you. I'll do my best." When the screen fully went dark, GACA slowly lifted his head, his eyes filled with malice. He muttered, "Yeah, let's see how you die next." The scene switched to the real world, a cafe. A purple-haired girl stood up from her chair, looked at the friend sitting beside her and asked, "So your whole family is playing this game?" That girl was Lu Yun. Her eyes widened as she continued in surprise, "Not only that, they invested all their assets into it." Her friend Huang Nian so propped his chin, looking exasperated, "Yeah. They even force me to level with them every day. I can't stand it. If I'm going to play, I want to play my way." Suddenly Huang Nian so sprang up, "How about it, Yun, let's play this game together. Come to your place and we'll build our own world in the game." Lu Yun jumped at the suggestion, "But I don't have a login system." She paused at that, a thought flashing in her mind, "Wait, if he comes to my house, wouldn't that create the perfect chance for my brother and me and so to be alone together?" Lu Yun smiled inwardly, her eyes crafty. In that instant her expression grew calculating, as if two mischievous horns had sprung up on her head. Nian So beside her saw her sudden silence and begged again, "Please. Yun, come on, play this with me." Lu Yun immediately answered, "Okay, let's go buy a login device." The two girls' voices echoed outside. The desert was filled with choking dust, the landscape obscured. The next wave of monsters surged forward, shaking the very air. Louis nimbly swung the Ho Kwang blade, its edge sliced through, and the monsters were instantly chopped into pieces. The blade rose and fell in a seamless rhythm, every movement fluid and unhesitating. Louis pondered, "I can say I've never felt like this before. I can truly feel my own growth." When the gear activated, his stats surged, causing a marked explosion in power. Especially after the weighting boost, his thought process with each slash became increasingly clear. He swung the blade, forming a smooth streak of blue light, still thinking, "The sword in my hand feels much lighter than before." Gripping the hilt with both hands, Louis thought, "The force behind each swing is stronger too." When his feet struck the ground hard, he sensed his movements were more agile, his speed and reactions noticeably improved. He leaped into the air as the thin blade arced, creating a beautiful streak of blue light. Louis thought further, "The height I can jump now, lets me bring anything down to my feet." Scanning the distance, he suddenly gasped. The horizon blazed with dazzling light, a scene more beautiful than anything he'd seen in his previous life unfolded fully before his eyes. That light enveloped his entire body. Louis froze slightly, then curled his lips in a faint smile. Further. I can see even more beautiful sights. He slammed down onto the ground, spun and unleashed a perfect circular blade arc. His face grew solemn, brows knitting. But inside he still heard, not enough yet. The endless horde of monsters continued to charge toward Am-Tui-Tin. Suddenly, rippling blue rings like sound waves shot from the crystal, flinging the entire pack aside. Louis appeared in midair amid the knocked-back monsters. He told himself again, I don't just want to see. I want to reach as far as my eyes can see. The dust-filled space fell utterly silent. Amid the thickest dust 9 eyes of varying sizes suddenly appeared. A long roar echoed. As the hazy dust dissipated, the 9-eyed monster's form emerged. It was a larger version of the earlier creatures Louis had faced. The young man, seeing this, clenched the Hoi Kwang blade in his hand, his face tense. With a sudden strike, the ground tore open a small hole, dirt and rock spraying everywhere. Louis sprang upward toward the huge monster. That gaped, ready to swallow him, and swung his blade. The scene unfolded so fast that before it was clear, the system's voice rang out. Congratulations, player, you have successfully cleared the secret realm. The secret realm reward is experience points and tenfold secret realm essence. Next came a notice of mission completion within the conquest. You earn the title, Conquest Reverser of the Realm. When entering a secret realm, attributes are increased by 10% if a party member is lost. Immediately after, a series of level-up sounds issued from the system. The player reached level 36. Experience neared the cap and a list of stats appeared. Finally, 30 attribute points were available to distribute. HP and awareness energy were maxed. The system announced a branching skill for vitality at level 30. First is Tranquility, which puts enemies' skills into cooldown for several seconds. After listing various pluses and minuses, the system introduced the second skill, Immobilize, which freezes an opponent in place for 10 seconds, with its corresponding stat changes. Louis was now sitting on the back of that final giant monster to rest. He looked up at the sky in thought as the system began processing the fallen monster's corpse. The young man smiled with exhilaration, secretly thinking how strong he'd become. His lips lifted in arrogant pride. As the system prepared to eject him from the secret realm, Louis thought maybe no one would refuse his team requests this time. Back in the real world, Louis's residence was a rather shabby communal apartment block. A pair of hands set a pair of glasses down on the table. Louis returned to the real world, leaning on the window and looking out. The city, with buildings of varying heights, spread out before his eyes. Louis silently reflected on his growth, though many things still left him unsatisfied. But moments later he bowed his head in thought. If he could get another login device so his sister could become a player too, that would be better. Just then, a clear voice rang out, "Brother, you're back." At the call, Louis turned to look toward where the sound had come from. He stepped in from the balcony and, as he reached the living room, saw someone coming in from outside. It was Lu Yun. She carried a box and said, "Brother, these login devices are so hard to get. Luckily Nian So has connections, I barely managed to buy one." Louis stood in place watching the two figures enter. His face went blank, the words repeating in his head, "A Primal Realm login device." The next moment he excitedly repeated, "A Primal Realm login device." On the other side, Lu Yun kept chattering with a smile as she led Huang Nian So into the house. "So to thank Nian So, he'll be staying at our place from now on." The handsome young man Huang Nian So, hearing his name mentioned, politely raised a hand and said, "Hello, brother." Louis lunged at the login device still in Lu Yun's hands, completely ignoring the beauty beside him. He shouted excitedly, "It's really a Primal Realm login device, this is amazing." Lifting the heavy box, Louis could hardly believe it was real and kept asking, "How did you get it?" "That's incredible." Lu Yun's sister puckered her lips in jealous frustration, fuming inside, "Brother, you should be paying attention to the beauty, not a login device. You're about to live with a beauty, don't focus on the wrong thing." Huang Nian So was also embarrassed, thinking with a forced smile, does a login device really warrant this much excitement? In a vast forest, the full moon hung overhead, shining down through the treetops. One night before some level 40 secret realm, hushed voices murmured in the late hour, "If we can clear this secret realm, we can surpass Team 2. Yes, then everyone's overall pay could increase. Just thinking about it is thrilling. In a clearing, a group sat around a campfire. They said, ultimately we have to thank Ta-Noi-Tei's luck. She gained a special power in-game. Without her, we couldn't clear the secret realm so easily. That's right, she's too strong, it's like hacking. Ta-Noi-Tei, the one mentioned, was a young, beautiful girl sitting with her knees drawn up, chin on her hands, staring into the sky. She was a member of the New Order's Matrat team. At that moment the man sitting across from her spoke, after we clear this secret realm, please transfer to Team 1, that would be better for your development in the New Order. That man was Chiu Duong, captain of New Order Team 3. Ta-Noi-Tei widened her eyes slightly, showing surprise at those words. The other team members were far less calm. One immediately shouted a reminder at Chiu Duong, Captain, our team's progress still depends on Noi-Tei. Ta-Noi-Tei remained silent. Other members began standing and demanding, if Noi-Tei leaves, our team's ranking will drop. It took so much effort to cultivate her, now of all times, how can we let her go? Chiu Duong shook his head slightly, calming the team's restlessness. You can't use personal ties to limit someone's development. Besides, I believe once Noi-Tei goes to Team 1 and leads the New Order, she won't forget us. Saying this, he looked up at her and asked, right, Noi-Tei? The young woman remained silent. In response to the question she only gave a faint smile. Seeing this, the earlier objector dejectedly said, so you're saying we just have to accept it? Another scratched his head and muttered, I suppose, it's not our place to restrict one of our own's advancement. At that the whole team began to noisily agree. Everyone chimed in, once you're in Team 1, if you run into any trouble, just speak up. Like when you first joined us, we'll do our best to help. Only then did Ta-Noi-Tei smile brightly, you brothers are so kind, I'll accept everyone's goodwill for now. She then put a hand to her face, feigning shyness, and softly said, actually, I have something I need everyone's help with right now. Faced with the beauty's embarrassed expression, the team stood dumbfounded, question marks seeming to appear above their heads. In an instant, nearly the entire New Order Matrat team had collapsed. One remaining member lay dying, HP in critical condition, stammering angrily, why you? Ta-Noi-Tei stood opposite them with a light smile and calmly explained, although I have SUC Kai, my level isn't high enough. So I need you to trigger the absolute realm reward for me, so I can use this opportunity to become a top-tier player in the primal realm. The teammate, hearing this, angrily snapped back, we trained you up, this is how you repay us. Noi-Tei simply waved her hand and said, don't be mad, it's just a game, I'll grind levels back later. The man suddenly gathered his strength, sprang up, and fired repeatedly at the girl, cursing, damn it, you treacherous bitch. Ta-Noi-Tei remained unflustered. She smoothly slipped through the bullets, then approached the teammate and said, how many times have I told you, in the primal realm, no matter how powerful a machine gun is, its bullet speed is fixed, it can't hit a player whose speed attribute exceeds 100. Her beautiful face faintly smiled as she softly reminded him, cold weapons are different, though. Ta-Noi-Tei's weapon instantly plunged through the man's throat. The gentle girl now revealed a merciless bloodlust. She said quietly, as long as the attributes are sufficient, swing speed and strength have no limits. A day later, in some 20-player level, 45 secret realm cave, a panicked voice cried out, Captain, my potions are almost gone, have you finished charging? Another added, mine are nearly out too. A giant humanoid monster appeared and another team was locked in endless combat with it. They shouted in turn, this thing's hard to deal with. Why are there no healer players in the primal realm, no medics or classes that can restore HP? Damn it, this is so annoying. At that moment, a streak of blue light skimmed across the monster's face, contorting it. The light came from the blade in the hands of the man who had just leapt up. The monster's teeth were blasted toward him. Cheers rose around them, wow, the captain's awesome as always. Sadly, they'd been operating solo for too long. The moment the man landed, the monster collapsed behind him. That man with supreme skill was Ruruoi Dang Truong, level 45, captain of New Order Team 1. His shod feet took a few proper steps forward. Ruruoi Dang Truong, hearing the blonde man in the distance tell him to stop, spoke up, Chairman, what's the matter? The blonde man was the New Order's chairman, Kai Nong Dung Dung, level 45. He replied softly, "It seems another player with Suc Kai has appeared." Ruruoi Dang Truong asked, "Enemy or ally? Can we recruit them?" The other replied, "He just killed the player in charge of the spatial mirror." Those words made Nu Loi directly scratch his head in confusion. Hot Air snapped back, asking, "What is Noi Te doing right now?" At this time, on the outskirts of the chaotic area, a cliff was covered with bushes of multicolored green and pink flowers. Ta Noi Te was standing with her hands on her hips, looking at the system board in front of her. A private message from the New Order Guild leader Hot Air was displayed there, requesting contact with a player who has similar aura power to hers, a player named Da. After reading those lines, she curled her lips slightly and muttered, "Not recruitment but elimination." Her slender hand rose to her chin as she pretended to ponder. Ta Noi Te thought, "Rare aura players today, if recruited into the guild it means there's hope to strengthen the guild, if eliminated it means the guild's growth isn't your concern." Cam Hong's lips curved slightly as she said, "Your guild leader doesn't care about this player either, right? So both outcomes are acceptable to him, but he cares a lot about you, gives you the choice, and hopes you can use this excuse to recruit Da and prove your own worth." With that innocent, beautiful face, Ta Noi Te lightly applauded once and then said something cruel that completely contradicted her appearance. "If that's the case, then you choose elimination." Lu Not's real-world residence was an apartment building that looked shabby. Lu Not was sitting with his back to the room, working at his computer, with a sheet of paper covered in scrawled lines in front of him. After the Prime World descended into reality, levels could no longer be raised. Remembering the time before the Prime World descended, the highest player level was 60. If he could have trained to level 60 back then, he would have almost reached the top-tier players. Lu Not propped his hand up, wearing a contemplative expression. With the strength of level 60, at least he could ensure safety for himself and his sister during the apocalypse. He resolutely made a plan. After the Prime World descended into reality, social order would quickly collapse and supplies would become scarce. In the super-level game guilds, a new order would be established. Food would replace paper money as the most valuable thing. Therefore, before the Prime World descended, he had to stockpile food as much as possible, and take a residence as a stronghold to build an apocalypse castle for himself and his sister. Lu Not looked at the building on his computer and thought he'd first rent an empty house to prepare. He continued calculating the future, using all the money earned from the secret mirror realm to buy rice and long shelf-life food. Waiting for the goods to be delivered, his character's current level had reached 36, 24 levels short of the goal. Lu Not thought with satisfaction, everything is progressing according to plan. As long as he doesn't die in the game and real-world supplies arrive in time, he and his sister can live safely after the Prime World descends. In the weapons training room, 3 figures stood at the end of the corridor. Lu Not's voice rang out, "In the Prime World, the most powerful force is aura. The key to having aura is weapon proficiency. To survive in the Prime World, the first important step is to train with different weapons, only then can aura be formed." A pretty girl holding a staff named Lu Van, nickname Money-Scented Girl, level 1. Lu Not continued, "Although Neem So's level and gear are very good, without aura in the Prime World, even a higher level is still just an ordinary player." Lu Not glanced at Hong Neem So standing beside her. The info board showed, Hong Neem So, nickname Tam Tam Neem Neem, level 32. He said, "So you two practice improving your weapon proficiency in the training field first." Both of them cheerfully replied in unison, "Okay." Sunlight streamed into the room through the window frame. Lu Not stood at the door, turning to look into the training room. He thought to himself, "What have I done? I indirectly changed history." Remembering his previous life, Neem So never came to his house. But even aside from that life, Neem So helped Lu Van get the login device. Seeing the young girl practicing diligently, he thought that without Hong Neem So in the previous life, he and his sister basically wouldn't have survived more than 3 years. Lu Not threw his fist toward the sky and vowed, "In this life I must repay her well. Come on, level up. Target, 60. Half a day later, 3 figures appeared at the exit of the level 35 dungeon. Lu Not stepped out, he had reached level 37. Everyone gathered around him praising, "So amazing. Duh, you're really incredible. It feels like you alone could clear a 10-player level 35 dungeon. Yeah, today we finally got a big boost. The surrounding group said excitedly, keep going. Keep going. Lunat turned and smiled, I'm not training anymore, I have some errands to run. Hearing his refusal, the others sounded disappointed, oh. Then I won't train either. Me neither. Lunat said, you all are too practical. The group suggested friending him, next time you run the dungeon and are short-handed, call us. Lunat happily scratched his head and replied, no problem. Immediately after, his eyes widened, his face tensed, and his hands clenched. With a 10-player level, 35 team, each run takes half a day to a full day, and the experience gained is only about half a level. At that rate, in the remaining 20 days he could at best reach level 50. Level 60 was basically unattainable. In the team square, Lunat sat alone on a bench, worrying and thinking. A system notification appeared, complete the Ultimate Dungeon Conquest mission to earn the title, Ultimate Dungeon Reverser. When entering a dungeon, each time a team member is lost, all player attributes increase by 10%. Could this be the only way? Lunat furrowed his brow, thinking, if he sacrificed 9 players to exchange for the most efficient experience reward. He rubbed his face. In his previous life, teams that ran dungeons like this were called Ultimate Dungeon Squads. Players who organized such teams benefited while others treated them like rats to be attacked. Wouldn't that make him the same kind of person? But if this was the only way... Lunat's eyes filled with determination. With a ding, a message popped up that startled Lunat. He looked at the letter, wondering, who sent me a message? Open it. The letter displayed a new dungeon invitation, Noi Te, level 40, 10-player difficulty, Chaos Disorder Zone number 602 dungeon. Would you like to join? Confirm or decline? Lunat asked suspiciously, Noi Te. Suddenly he thought with joy, Noi Te. The player who in his previous life used Ultimate Dungeon rewards to level up and became a top-tier player. Is she inviting me to join her Ultimate Dungeon team? Lunat thought he could take advantage of this chance to gain black, quickly leveling up. He sneered, Noi Te, don't blame me if I see this invite and decide to use you. 1. You're a new order member. 2. We had no prior relationship. For someone to suddenly invite me in this situation, it surely has no good intentions. Only, in his previous life Noi Te had gained aura before the Prime World, does she have it now? If she does, can he handle her? Lunat trembled slightly. His gaze was full of killing intent. Finally, he reached out and pressed accept on the invitation. He resolved, only Ultimate Dungeons could bring growth. Accept invitation. The notification displayed the team roster. Leader Noi Te level 45 member Refrigerator Guy level 43 member Gentle Beast level 41 member Grunt level 44 member Brain Occupied Star level 42 member Long Feeding Fairy level 40 member Little Cake level 42 member Skirt Ripper Type level 41 member Big Nick Trained Useless level 43 member De level 37. Lunat looked at the member list and sneered. All familiar faces. He saw the name, Big Nick Trained Useless, and recalled that in his previous life this person, for Ultimate Dungeon rewards, slaughtered the team after settlement and was scolded on the World Channel for 3 days. Looking at Little Cake, he remembered she had similar deeds, even spitting blood to slander teammates as plotting against her, then ultimately betraying the whole team. The others, more or less, had similar records. So this team dungeon itself, did Noi Te prepare it to gain black? He looked at the character board, wondering, how does Noi Te know these people's morals? Or did they become like this after being tricked by her? The system map appeared. Lunat looked at the member list and sneered, all familiar faces. He saw the name, Big Nick Trained Useless, and recalled that in his previous life this person slaughtered the team after settlement for Ultimate Dungeon rewards, earning 3 days of scolding on the World Channel. Glancing at Little Cake, he remembered she had similar deeds, even spitting blood to slander teammates as plotting against her, then ultimately betraying and killing the whole team. The others, more or less, had similar records. So was this dungeon team itself prepared by Noi Te to gain black? He looked at the character board and wondered, how does Noi Te know these people's morals? Or did they become like this after being tricked by her? The system map appeared. Noi Te said, we have enough people, let's go. Location, Chaos Disorder Zone number 602 dungeon, 10-player difficulty. Big Nick Trained Useless spoke up, "Is this what the master says? Why only level 37? Noi Te replied, "Level isn't the most important thing, skill is." Lu Not immediately ordered, "Open the map." A map describing different regions appeared: the Frozen Decay Zone, Orderly Danger Zone, Chaotic Zone, Disorderly Chaotic Zone, and other stratified areas. Lu Not frowned and said, "Currently the Prime World map is divided into 5 parts based on Mu Hutan's control over the dungeon areas. Mu Hutan supplies players with supporting resources. In the central city, all dungeons are under control and being remodeled. Dungeons like the Mirror Statue and Trial dungeons lie in the Orderly Danger Zone, offering players simple, risky search locations. The Snowy Mountain Range belongs to the Unremodelable Danger Zone, but the dungeon monsters there are still sealed by Mu Hutan. This is where the chicken in once went. A giant monster. 3 chaotic disorder zones give players experiences of despair. From the chaotic zones onward, Mu Hutan's control begins to weaken. Monsters below level 30 can escape their dungeons. A giant snake with razor teeth flashed through his mind. The 4 uncontrollable zones are places almost no player can set foot in. Monsters there have reached level 70. Along with the mysterious Frozen Decay at the outermost edge, Mu Hutan cannot control anything there. Monsters inside are no longer sealed. A multi-headed giant tiger appeared, its aura of destruction overwhelming. Thus the Frozen Decay exists as a lawless land where destructive monsters can appear at any time. In an enchanted forest within the chaotic disorder zone. Smack! A sound rang out and something flashed by. Lu Not was running quickly forward. Suddenly a scream rang out, making him freeze. He looked toward the source of the sound in astonishment. It was the wailing cries of the tree demons in the forest. Lu Not quickly hid in a cave to observe. Vines crawled across the ground. The sapling tree demons moved frantically under the direction of a large tree. Lu Not thought, although chaotic zone monsters aren't high level, their numbers are excessive. At any sound they would immediately swarm the noise source and constantly reinforce from surrounding dungeons. Faced with such numbers, anyone would struggle to resist. A voice called from outside. That cry was probably some careless player. Lu Not glanced out and thought, is it over? Has that player been dealt with? He immediately narrowed his view. Move quickly. Then he dashed out of the hiding cave. Suddenly a spear-like point shot straight at him, startling Lu Not. He narrowly dodged the fatal strike. Lu Not thought in surprise, who is that? The other person continued to launch attacks at Lu Not, but he quickly dodged. Lu Not stared at his opponent, his gaze full of killing intent. The man in the shadows looked back, his eyes blazing red like a predatory beast. Lu Not immediately used the Hoi Kwang blade, his chi erupting as he counterattacked at once. The opponent sneered, and simultaneously activated a berserk strike. Boom! A loud explosion rang out, dust and smoke filling the air. As the smoke cleared, the two stood motionless, facing each other. The man said, "So you're a player with aura, no wonder the captain let you in despite your low level." This was the member Big Nick Trained Useless, level 43. Lu Not frowned, his eyes cold as he looked at him. Big Nick Trained Useless chuckled with satisfaction, "Although your aura isn't on my level, you've been recognized." He turned and left, saying as he went, "Let's move to the rendezvous. Otherwise those monsters swarming will be a nuisance." Lu Not still gripped his weapon tightly, standing silently as he watched the other's retreating figure. He pondered, they're here, players with aura. With Noi Te added, very likely they all have aura. Recalling Big Nick Trained Useless's smug face, Lu Not marveled at how terrifying this team's strength was. He thought privately, it seems the chance to get the ultimate dungeon reward this time is very low, I might even die there. If so, should I still go? At Chaos Zone number 602, the dungeon entrance. A group of people stood before the secret entrance. Lu Not quickly ran up. From afar, someone was silently watching him. It was Noi Te sitting on a distant rock, smiling slightly. Lu Not bit his lip and frowned, thinking, she's Noi Te. Noi Te stood up and clapped to attract everyone's attention. She said, "All right, we have enough people. Before we enter the dungeon, a few points." Lu Not silently observed the entire formation. The 3-person team also watched him with wary eyes. Big Nick Trained Useless rubbed his neck, avoiding Lu Not's gaze. Lu Not looked at each person, coldly assessing in his head, these people will be my team members. The trash of the future. Noi Te continued, dungeons in the chaotic zone are all said to be bizarre, so once inside, whatever the dungeon's combat rules or how strange it is, I hope no one panics. We'll gather and discuss the dungeon's combat plan. After all, the dungeon mechanics are what matter. Everyone happily agreed, no problem. Alright, continue. Okay. They all stood behind Noi Te. She was full of confidence and loudly ordered, move out. Lu Not then stepped forward with them, his face expressionless as he thought, as it stands the chance of getting the dungeon reward. This time the ultimate dungeon reward is extremely rare, I might even die there, so do I still want to go? Lu Not's own thoughts made him laugh. He thought, Lu Not, are you scared? He looked at Noi Te's cheerful smile and assessed her confident gaze. Noi Te was one of the top-tier players in his previous life. Beginning to associate with her meant he was about to interact with the players he once considered elite. Unease began to gnaw at him. Are you worried you can become a top-tier player like them? Are you afraid you won't surpass them? That your efforts so far will become a joke? Lu Not lifted his head, wore a confident expression, and smiled. Night had fallen, the sky was studded with stars. Lu Not strode forward leisurely, silently resolving, then let this dungeon run prove it. He frowned, determination on his face, vowing to prove he was no worse than them. A painful memory surfaced, a wall smeared with blood and a red line of self-reproach. Why won't she play with me anymore? The memory shifted to a short-haired girl, accompanied by curses. Humph, if she won't play with me, go find some other toy yourself. Corpses lay strewn across the ground. That strange voice rang out again, not interesting. None of this is interesting. It's still fun with her, I want to go home. A robot covered in blood stood with its head bowed sadly. It said regretfully, home. I can't go home anymore. It stood alone in the midst of a pillar, and beneath the pillar was carved a line where despair and hope coexisted. People whispered, what kind of dungeon is this? There's even animation, it's my first time seeing this. At the dungeon entrance, members appeared one by one. Someone said, honestly, the Prime World dungeon mechanics, random scenes, random maps, make you love and hate it at the same time. Lu Not glanced toward the voice, another replied, yeah, especially now when you can't revive fallen players, this mechanic becomes even more brutal. All members were present, they stared at the bloodied robot before them. Someone said, the only unique thing in this dungeon is this toy puppet. It looks like the key to clearing this run is it. Suddenly, the puppet vanished before their eyes, leaving everyone astonished. The dungeon announced, the entrance and exit are closed, a mission is spawning. Mission spawn announcement, the peculiar toy puppet. Peculiar toy puppet, victory condition, destroy the peculiar toy puppet. The puppet is randomly placed into the inventory of one player among all participants. Killing the player who holds the puppet will destroy it. Otherwise, if the puppet remains intact after the allotted 6 hours, the dungeon run fails. Note, when a player with the puppet kills another player, the puppet's parasitic link transfers. Lu Not thought to himself, astonished, is this dungeon really designed for ultimate dungeon rewards? He mused that if the team passed the puppet on to the last surviving member to be killed, they'd be guaranteed the highest ultimate dungeon reward. System announcement, the puppet has parasitized. Dungeon run begins. Countdown 5 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds, 5 hours 59 minutes and 58 seconds. Check your bag to see if the puppet is on you. Lu Not observed those around him. He closed his eyes and frowned, thinking, no, not yet, can't check now. He scanned the area with determined eyes, thinking he must wait until the situation calmed before secretly checking whether the puppet was on him. He looked at the other teammates and thought, otherwise the puppet might be on me. If I betray surprise and reveal it, I'll become the team's target, and the two strong players will likely focus on me, which could very well lead to my death. A stout man had also begun to observe everyone silently. The trained useless player was scanning the surroundings as well, and everyone stood in silence, watching one another. Lu Not thought to himself, everyone is watching each other. Are they pretending, or experiencing the same situation as I am? Applause rang out, drawing everyone's attention. Lu Not turned to look toward the sound source. Noi Te smiled and proposed, everyone's seen the mission details, whoever has the puppet step forward. The corresponding losses after death will be compensated by the surviving teammates. Those teammates not parasitized by the puppet aren't affected, right? Everyone quickly agreed with her suggestion. I agree with the captain's view, same here. Lunat thought silently, now's the time, while everyone's looking at Noite, open your backpack and check. Lunat quietly opened his backpack, widened his eyes, and exclaimed in shock. The puppet was lying in his backpack. Lunat thought, could this be any less thrilling? Just arrived and I'm already standing opposed to the whole team. Lunat frowned as he looked into his backpack. He glanced at everyone and thought to himself, so my current objective is to kill a teammate so the puppet's parasitism transfers, neutralizing my risk. He looked at those in front of him and wondered, who should I choose as the victim to eliminate this threat? But after killing a teammate to transfer the puppet, how would I face the wrath of the two aura-wielding players? Noite smiled gently and asked everyone, no one will confess. Lunat bowed his head silently, saying nothing, and moved slightly. Noite ran up to him and said, hey, Deirdre, you should step forward and admit the puppet has parasitized you. Lunat thought in surprise. What? She continued, by the way, we haven't introduced ourselves. I'm Noite, female, hobbies. What about you? Lunat still frowned and remained silent. He glanced at the other teammates. Lunat realized everyone was looking at him. The trained useless player wore a perverse smile, his eyes glowing red like blood. Lunat realized, could it be that earlier they weren't observing each other but signaling, exchanging intel to confirm who had the puppet? Lunat quickly concluded, they were a gang. Lunat sneered, thinking, isn't it obvious? The team suddenly invited me, probed halfway, though I don't know why they want to deal with me. This dungeon was set up by Noite to target me, so it's normal she pulled in 8 helpers. Lunat stared at Noite, thinking, it's like I joined this squad to deal with all of them and claim the ultimate dungeon reward. A murderous aura radiated around him now, eyes like stalking tigers. Noite propped her chin on her hand and looked at Lunat, exclaiming, rude, but whatever, who told me I like you? With your performance against the big useless one, you definitely won't be a match once we gang up. So don't waste time, step out quickly and let's start leveling, okay? Luo Lei Dengchang reminded, Captain, give him a chance to struggle. Killing him that way is more meaningful, bit by bit shatter his illusions, how entertaining. Noite pouted, covering her face with both hands and feigning weakness. But that's really too cruel, I'm afraid of seeing that scene. Saying this, she slightly revealed a look of triumph to Lunat. Noite said, so please, don't make me watch, okay? Lunat quietly activated his watch equipment and aimed his gun at her. Faced with Lunat's threat, Noite still clutched her head and remained motionless. She said in a tone of regret, not satisfied. Truly heartless. Everyone began whispering, wow, so this is the top master you warned us about. Why is he even using a firearm? Even without aura like us we could dodge that, right? The trained useless player spoke up, they say he's a master, so his thinking surely isn't like ours. What if his attack automatically locks onto its target? Hearing the trained useless say that, everyone laughed. Come on, your joking level is something else. Does the prime world require a restraint skill? Are we in a wuxia world with magic now? Don't say that. Prime world can set traps, which can indirectly achieve a restraining effect. Noite also laughed and said, you people are hilarious, I like it. Lunat sneered and said, restraint. Noite stared at him in astonishment. Suddenly Noite was pushed backward, and she looked at Lunat with a face of disbelief. Noite checked herself and said, I'm fine, but it just vibrated suddenly. She glared at him with murderous intent. Noite shouted angrily, big useless, stop probing and come deal with him with me. Lunat snorted at her words. The trained useless was about to rush forward to attack, but he was seized by a force like binding chains. He cried out in shock, I can't move. The trained useless struggled against the chains, yelling, what is this? Noite's eyes widened in surprise. Breath skill branch level 30, silence. Silencing the target causes all their skills to enter a 5-second cooldown. Spirit energy cost 50, each rank increases cooldown and adds 10 spirit energy cost, cooldown becomes 1 minute. Restraint, imprisons the opponent in place for 10 seconds, spirit energy cost 50, every 10 ranks increases restraint duration by 1 second, cooldown 1 minute. Lunat continued to use his judgment watch. Pistol watch, attack plus 200, willpower plus 30. Judgment attack skill inflicts triple damage or causes stun. Requires level 20 equipment. Ammo auto reloads. Each reload takes 1 minute, ammo 1/1. Judgment deals triple damage, consuming 100 willpower. The next attack's attack power increases by 50-100. Lu Nat's eyes glowed red with killing intent. He aimed the gun at the trained useless and said coldly, "Goodbye." The trained useless could only helplessly watch the bullet fly toward him. The bullet from Lu Nat pierced his abdomen, and he fell amid the shock of all the teammates. The dungeon announced, "You killed the player, trained useless, and successfully transferred the puppet." Announcement: Team member triggered the title, Ultimate Dungeon Inversioner. All attributes increased by 10%. Noi Tae's eyes widened in shock. The other teammates also gaped in surprise. Lu Nat was silent, thinking, in this team there are two things I fear most. One is Noi Tae and Big Nick teaming up directly against me. The second is that the team has 4 players with aura. Either of these points would plunge me into a dire situation. Especially the second, but from Noi Tae's tone earlier it was clear that only she and Big Nick the trained useless had the strength to contend with me. Recalling Noi Tae's earlier expression and words, "With how you performed against Big Useless, you definitely aren't a match once we gang up." He realized she meant only they had aura, so the team's real threat to him was just those two teaming up. The character of trained useless was gradually disappearing. Lu Nat thought, while they're careless and don't understand my aura skill, I'll deal with Big Nick the trained useless, dismantle the only threat this team can pose to me, so I can be in absolute dominance when facing them. Lu Nat's face was full of smug satisfaction. He thought, this is the best solution to neutralize my danger. I am like a giant manipulating the small team members on my chessboard. And an even better plan is to kill Noi Tae first. Only earlier, when I tried to lock her to imprison her she dodged. Was it because her perception attribute is high? Lu Nat smiled and said, "Intelligence reminder, the puppet has transferred from me. You must protect the new host whom the puppet has parasitized, otherwise I'll just kill that person directly, you won't be able to stop me or avenge them." He reminded himself, I must still be careful, not be negligent. If I want the ultimate dungeon reward, next I must find the new puppet host and keep him until the end to deal with. Noi Tae glared at him angrily and shouted, "You haven't even." She realized something was wrong, and hurriedly yelled, "Don't move. He's trying to use this method to find the puppet's new host." The teammates immediately clustered together, astonished. What? They followed Noi Tae's command and stood frozen. Lu Nat smiled, thinking to himself, so, it's her. He looked at the small cake standing dazed in the line and subconsciously assessed the girl being protected at the back of the formation. Announcement: all attributes enhanced, consuming 400 willpower. Enhance all attributes by 200. Lu Nat then sprinted past Noi Tae and lunged toward the small cake. He rushed through the teammates and effortlessly killed them all. Lu Nat thought inwardly, these reward players are really too weak. The dungeon repeatedly announced. Announcement: you killed Brothers Fridge. You killed Gentle Beast Man. You killed Gruff One. You killed Brain City Star. You killed Fairy and Truong. You killed Shy Skirt Fixer. Announcement: all team members triggered the title, Ultimate Dungeon Inversioner, all attributes plus 70%. As a result, Lu Nat's power continued to rise. Noi Tae angrily grabbed her sword and charged at Lu Nat. A flash of blue light streaked by, and Lu Nat quickly blocked her attack. The small cake sat down with a thump, terrified. Noi Tae angrily demanded, "So your real goal is the ultimate dungeon reward? What guts you have?" Lu Nat sneered and replied, "Only you are left." Noi Tae then used Chisoft Demon Leap. A mysterious purple aura appeared around her. She hissed angrily, "Wait until it hits you, let's see how you regret your choice." After saying that, she suddenly vanished. Only a ring of purple smoke remained around Lu Nat. He frowned, thinking, she's gone. Suddenly Noi Tae reappeared behind him and attacked. Lu Nat turned his body to swing his sword, but was a step late. Noi Tae stabbed him hard in the back with a dagger, dealing -300 HP. The announcement board displayed, teammate the level 37's health has decreased. Noi Tae continued to attack relentlessly, the -300 HP notifications kept appearing. The level 37's health bar rapidly dropped. Suddenly appeared, vitality restored plus 9,000. Lu Nat suddenly swung his blade in a counterattack, catching Noite completely off guard. Noite frowned. 900 damage only reduced 75% of your HP, it seems your aura is the tank type. But that's all, if I hit a few more times and deplete your healing potions, I'll still be the victor. Lunat said nothing, merely smiled. A purple ring appeared in Noite's hand, it was a steel segment weapon, and she immediately attacked. HP minus 9,800. But the notification instantly appeared, vitality restored plus 9,800. Noite's eyes widened in shock, his healing potions only restored 1,000 each, and the dungeon limit allows only 10 vials, yet he recovered nearly 19,000 HP. She was still lost in thought. With a swish, Lunat's sword sliced past her. Lunat looked at her and sneered, "Too bad, the winner will be me." Noite was still stunned, not understanding what was happening. Then she gritted her teeth in anger. Lunat swung his sword again with a slash. He stared at Noite with murderous intent. Noite retreated toward the small cake. She frowned and demanded, "A level 30 plus healer potion only restores 1,000 HP, with a dungeon carry limit of 10 vials. The wound I just inflicted was nearly 20,000, yet you recovered instantly, plus your enormous max HP. Are you a support type force aura?" Lunat replied calmly, "You should have put all your attribute points into speed, added attack type support force aura, making your speed unnaturally high, and your attack as well." Noite fell silent upon hearing that. Suddenly she smiled at him, scratched her head and said shyly, "Which is why my spirit energy is extremely insufficient. I don't have much left now, maybe I'll lose." Noite then proposed, "Shall I just kill the little cookie and end this dungeon run?" The little cookie was astonished to hear that. Lunat thought to himself, was I pushing too hard, forcing her to this point? Noite's speed is too fast, but the chance to kill her only comes after she's controlled, otherwise, once she realizes she can't handle me, she'd normally choose to deal with the little cookie and end the dungeon immediately. But the moment she blanked out earlier was rare. Lunat called out, "Then what are you waiting for?" He thought, if she doesn't immediately finish the little cookie, maybe I still have a chance. Wait until the restraint cooldown ends. Noite propped her hand against her face and said casually, "But that way I can't deal with you. Headache, this is my main objective in this dungeon run." A system ding announced, all attribute enhancements ended. Fusion complete. Restraint cooldown complete. Lunat's eyes widened, thinking in surprise, the cooldown is over. He shouted, "Restraint watch." He aimed his gun at Noite. He thought to himself, what's the situation? The little cookie standing beside Noite launched an attack. System display, leader Noite level 45. Noite sneered at him. In the private group chat, Noite whispered, "Little cookie, kill me, then commit suicide, reward doubled." Little cookie messaged back, "Understood." Lunat was shaken. Noite softly enunciated each word, "You lost." Then she laughed maniacally and vanished, leaving Lunat standing in a daze. He staggered back in shock. Lunat asked himself, how could this be? He sank down to the ground, face incredulous. He wondered again, why did this happen? His backpack display showed the puppet had returned to Lunat's pouch. He thought, didn't she want to escape the dungeon? Why choose such an extreme method? If it's simply to stop me from winning, that's ridiculous. Lunat shouted in helplessness, what do I do now? He clutched his head and berated himself. The little cookie killed Noite, the puppet moved on to them. Even if the little cookie doesn't commit suicide, after I kill the little cookie I won't have teammates left for the puppet to parasitize. This situation only leads to death. Lunat looked dazed. Could all my efforts since my rebirth turn to nothing? A voice echoed among the pillars, irritating. Clearly he was about to win. Lunat lay stunned among the pillars. Then his gaze hardened. He sat up and reminded himself, there might still be another way. He glanced around, thinking, if all teammates are dead but the Prime World hasn't declared my conquest a failure, then there must be another conquest method. He turned his head and looked everywhere, asking himself, but what is that method? Lunat stood alone between the pillars and shouted loudly. He touched the air around the pillar, and was surprised to find he couldn't pass through. He thought, an air wall. That means this dungeon's range is limited to this area. He assessed the pillar's boundaries, looked up and thought, This round pillar holding the puppet is the only special thing here. With that in mind he jumped higher. Lunat frowned and stared at the line of text. Despair and hope coexist. He noticed a small line of text below. I cannot open this door. He wondered, who wrote this? Suddenly where his hand touched a square appeared, like a mechanism to open a secret chamber. Lunat's eyes widened in surprise. A mechanism? Notification. Do you want to spend 1,000 spirit points to open the Introductory Mansion Research Institute number 602? Lunat frowned in thought. 1,000 points, that's a lot. But under the inversion ultimate state his spirit points exceed 1,500. From the current fighting he would have just over 1,000 left. But he didn't know what awaited inside and couldn't spend it all here. However, he could spend 700 spirit points to raise all attributes by 350, thereby indirectly gaining 1,000 spirit points. Lunat calculated, that would leave him over 300 spirit points, and using the enhancement in an unknown area might not be the best choice. Alright, do it. Notification displayed, attribute enhancement consumed 700 spirit points, all attributes increased by 350. Next notification, do you want to spend 1,000 spirit points to open the entrance test of Research Institute number 602? Lunat said, confirm. Notification, spirit points spent, the entrance test of Research Institute number 602 opens. A blinding beam of light shone forth. Lunat's face was full of astonishment. Voices rang out. Director, decide quickly, where should we deploy the forces? Focus on reflecting those who follow you, or absorb the reflections of everyone. A figure stood in the light, voice pressing urgently. Director, make a decision quickly. The line was repeated continuously. Lunat rubbed his eyes. A blond man rushed over and asked urgently, do we concentrate the reflection onto those who follow you, or absorb the reflections of everyone? Lunat thought, what does reflection calculus mean? He asked, is there a difference? The man grew even more impatient. Director, make a decision quickly. Lunat looked at him, puzzled. Is it a fixed program? This might be the independent space of the entrance test for Research Institute number 602. He glanced at the two choices before him, wondering, concentrate reflection on followers or absorb everyone's reflections, is the entrance test simply choosing one of the two? He continued, if you choose wrong, is there a punishment? Lunat frowned, no context, hard to choose. Based on this fixed program scenario, they were likely facing a calamity. He recalled the man's urgency. The key to victory was the reflection calculus, and in his mouth it decided who could continue to survive after being reflected. Lunat propped his chin and thought, or become a tool to resolve this calamity. Lunat sighed, covered his face in frustration, thinking that in his previous life he was only level 1 and had no access to such important prime world data. A thought flashed in his eyes, if it was the right to continue surviving, he'd choose, concentrate reflection on followers, to let his sister live on. But if it meant becoming a tool to resolve the calamity, he'd choose the latter. If the calamity can't be escaped, fighting it is the only way out. He stared at the two choices to evaluate them. Moreover, assigning the reflection calculus to someone was surely because that person had traits suited to solving the calamity. Who could guarantee the chosen person is suitable? Maybe among the candidates someone is extremely compatible with the calculus. Just a bit could trigger a reaction beyond imagination. He thought again about his previous life. If, after the prime world descended, player levels couldn't increase, he wouldn't have ended up like this. Lunat reached out and selected one option on the display, saying, choose it. The display showed, absorb everyone's reflections. Lunat silently prayed, please let me succeed. Nothing around him changed. He was returned to the original space. Lunat's expression was slightly blank. He frowned and looked around. He thought, nothing changed, did I choose wrong? He sat down, arms crossed, asking himself, so is the correct answer, concentrate reflection on your followers? His spirit points were now about 350, because the puppet was parasitizing him he remained in combat state, causing extremely slow recovery. Even so, in 5 hours he'd have enough to recover, meaning enough to open the entrance test twice. 2 attempts, enough. Lunat closed his eyes to rest. After an hour and a half, the spirit bar showed, 700/1594. Lunat opened his eyes. A notification appeared, consume 700 spirit points to boost all attributes by 350. A notification appeared, you can spend 1000 spirit points to open module number 602, entrance to the research room. Lu Not said, okay. This time he faced two choices: concentrate reflection on your followers, and absorb everyone's reflections. Lu Not was about to select the other option, but he stopped. He thought, if the entrance test only requires selecting the correct option to pass, isn't that too simple? So what is the point of this big gate? Choosing people without spirit points. He remembered when he first entered the dungeon, the strange girl and the puppet had said, not happy, not interesting, still go home, play with her. I want to go home, but it seems home can't be returned to anymore. Lu Not guessed the puppet was probably blocked by this gate's test, so it couldn't enter the institute it considered home. But he wondered what was blocking it: existing spirit point amount, some trait, or its personality. The only useful information now was the opening cartoon shown when entering the dungeon. The opening animation indicated the puppet left the institute because of its playful personality, and after playing enough it wanted to return but was blocked outside the institute. Lu Not frowned and drew the final conclusion: what prevented the puppet was its personality. He looked at the choice panel and thought, so this test might not be about selecting an option here but about the attitude of your choice. Lu Not frowned. What attitude should be chosen? He reached out, trusting his own judgment. When he pressed the selection, he chose the second option again. A flash of light gleamed, and Lu Not returned to the starting place. Nothing around him had changed. He frowned, thinking this was his last chance. If his judgment was wrong, the only thing awaiting him would be starting over. But still that phrase, trust yourself. Lu Not's spirit bar displayed 15 of 194. He sat down again and closed his eyes to rest. After 3.5 hours, the system countdown for the dungeon's active time showed 27 minutes 5 seconds remaining, and the spirit bar read 700/1594. A notification appeared: spend 700 spirit points to boost all attributes by 350. The next notification said you can spend 1000 spirit points to open module number 602, entrance to the research room. Lu Not said, okay. He returned once more to that room. This time he no longer hesitated, pressed the choice, still selecting to release the reflections of everyone. Lu Not returned to the starting point again, but the area around him was trembling violently. The pillar where the puppet stood was gradually lowering. Lu Not exclaimed joyfully, great, it worked. He laughed, thinking the test's key wasn't which option you chose but whether you were steadfast in your choice. Therefore, regardless of which option, continuously choosing the same one 3 times could open this door. He looked down the exit and thought the dungeon's hidden stage probably required the whole team to complete. Lu Not descended the stairs, walking and contemplating that the prime world left a shred of possibility that one person could finish it, hence the 3 attempts. And that shred of possibility was the boost to all attributes, the full spirit points, plus the title increase for inversion state players. Without those, it would be impossible to open this door 3 times. Lu Not peered into the deep tunnel, thinking that aside from himself, no one could solo conquer this dungeon's hidden stage. He frowned and thought, in handling Noi Te this time they had indeed been careless. Although only the ultimate realm can break through personal situations, bravery doesn't mean recklessness. Lu Not felt some regret. If he'd joined the team, and even known before entering the dungeon that Noi Te was that insane, he wouldn't have miscalculated at the end and nearly died here. As he drew nearer, he saw a silhouette at the far end of the passage. When he got closer, the researcher was dead, reduced to a desiccated skeleton. Seeing the skeleton, Lu Not immediately recognized it as the female body from the opening animation. Suddenly a red bubble flew out. Lu Not was filled with astonishment. The red bubble flew from that corpse toward Lu Not and merged with him. System notification: congratulations to the player for perfectly clearing the dungeon, troublemaking puppet. The troublemaking puppet has been purified. Reward: 1% reflection calculus authority. Hearing this, Lu Not let out a relieved breath. The system continued: achievement unlocked touching the ultimate realm mission, dungeon clear, reward 10. System settling accounts. Lu Not weakened, leaning against the wall behind him, his legs trembling uncontrollably. He rubbed his forehead, smiled wryly, and thought, how embarrassing, just a little difficulty and I go soft. The system announced that Lu Not's power had improved greatly. His current level is 44. Alongside the power increase, Lu Not's skill points improved. His current spirit points are 846/846. The system kept announcing. Combat power settled. Skill Sin Kin level 40. Target HP and spirit points non-stable increased by 10 levels. Target full body status duration plus 1 second. Target immobilized, cooldown 24 hours. Target marker standard from start to finish 1000 m. All creatures are sensing. Duration 10 minutes, cost 50 spirit points each time, plus 10 levels. Duration increased by 10 seconds. Lunat clenched his fists thinking, I guess I beat Noite now. He shouted happily, I'm really awesome. Then burst into loud laughter. On the other side, Lu Van and Hong Nim So were still training diligently, faces full of joy. At the player's resurrection point, a figure stood waiting. Noite thought to herself, 6 hours already. She frowned, wondering, so I've lost. The notification board displayed, hot breath, new order president appeared. Noite. Noite is dead. Hot breath, new order president. She killed him. Noite, I'm dead. Hot breath, new order president. But she received a valuable intel. Hot breath, new order president asked, what do you want me to exchange for it? Noite replied, give me a statue in the statue space to nourish me, enough so I can recover levels after a challenge. The chat panel displayed. Noite is the support aura person he was looking for. Hot breath glared at the chat panel and frowned. At the Prime World headquarters of the New Order Guild, in the reception room, Vo Cuc sat opposite Hot breath and said, you know rare support type auras, so you want me to agree to help you clear the out-of-control dungeon. He cheerfully agreed. He is the player Vo Cuc, level 45, his fitting weapon is fists, and he possesses the vitality aura. He proposed the fee, I want this sum. Clear one dungeon for 100,000. Hot breath sneered and replied, no problem. Outside the New Order headquarters, night had fallen. Vo Cuc stepped outside, and someone, surprised to spot him, ran over and shouted, Big brother, how did the talks go? Are the New Order people so excited they're jumping? I heard they're turning over everything looking for someone with a support aura. Vo Cuc angrily stomped and bent the nearby iron pillar, and the other immediately fell silent. Vo Cuc frowned, angrily saying, done, 100,000 per dungeon. The other asked in surprise, we've already completed step 1 of our plan, why are you still angry? Vo Cuc shouted, what bothers me is I'm not the only special one. There's another special player with vitality. He frowned, tone displeased. Then how do we carry out the next step of our plan? How do we climb New Order's ranks through the support route? Reality, Lunat's residence. He looked at the paper in front of him and wondered, reflection calculus authority? Lunat crossed his arms and pondered. What is reflection calculus authority? Literally it means authority to control the extent of large-scale mechanical transmission of reflection calculus. After perfectly clearing a dungeon there are rewards. Are they simply prerequisites to start some large-scale mission, or do they carry other special meanings? Lunat frowned and calculated. If reflection calculus authority reached 100%, what would happen? Is the authority here related to the entry-level reflection calculus test? He put his hand to his forehead, tiredly thinking there were too many questions. Lunat stood up, feeling it was very important and related to his future. Never mind, don't think about it now, shower first. Bye. Lunat went to the door and stepped out. Hong Nim So was cheerfully drying her hair, and she noticed Lunat, and waved to him. Lunat smiled and nodded in response, then walked straight toward the bathroom. At the bathroom door he suddenly stopped. A thought of Hong Nim So flitted through his mind and he slowed his pace. Since Hong Nim Van moved in, the house seemed to always carry a faint, barely there fragrance. He blushed slightly, awkwardly scratched his cheek, and thought to himself the scent was rather pleasant. Immediately, Lunat lightly smacked his head to snap out of it. He reminded himself, stop thinking dirty thoughts, hurry shower and then go online to set the next stage goals. In the Prime World, Lunat stood before the screen thinking. His current level is 44, 16 levels short of target 60. At 2 dungeon clears per level, he needs to run dungeons 32 times, about 20 days, to reach the goal. He propped his hand and thought. But there are only 22 days until the Prime World Descent event. Time is too tight, if anything unexpected happens, he might not reach level 60. On the other hand, gear is a huge issue. The screen showed he currently had 11,000, 2021 dungeon essence points remaining. The Prime World's gear sources are twofold: craft directly with Dungeon Essence, or use Dungeon Essence to upgrade equipment. Lunat suddenly felt uneasy. In short, there are those two methods. He currently has a total of 11,021 Dungeon Essence points, 3 dungeon reward payouts, and 4,271 points from dismantling unusable gear. The screen displayed: crafting a Tier 40 artifact costs 650 Dungeon Essence, craft. Upgrading a Tier 30 artifact to 40 costs 400 Dungeon Essence, upgrade. He still lacks 3 equipped items: hat, necklace, and badge, plus upgrading 9 pieces to 40+. Altogether requires 5,550 Dungeon Essence points. The screen continued: upgrading Tier 40 gear to 50 costs 700 points, upgrade. Yes/no. Upgrading Tier 50 gear to 60 costs 1,100 points, upgrade. Yes/no. Lunat thought, to upgrade the whole set to 60, after subtracting what he has, he'd still need about 16,129 Dungeon Essence points. That means running dungeons roughly 40 more times. He propped his hands on the screen, frowning in thought. To reliably reach the goal, he'd at least have to risk taking the Ultimate Realm reward 1 or 2 more times. The question is, whose body should be targeted? A mail notification popped up. Lunat glanced. From whom? He suddenly froze. Wait a moment. A feeling of alertness rose in him. Receiving a message in such a tight spot, this trick feels familiar. Lunat ordered it open. The message read: private message from Hot Breath Boom, New Order President, asking if you have time to chat. Lunat frowned. New Order President?